Good afternoon and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your host, Adam Perez. Welcome to a brand new episode of A Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news streaming live for you guys today over on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It is great to have you guys here. We got six incredible topics we're going to be diving into today. We got some Stranger Things talk for you guys as we preview the final season. We're also going to get into the upcoming television series, Welcome to Derry, along with some Marvel and DC news for you guys. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of A Plus Hero Report. It is I, your host, Adam Perez, joined by my host, none other than Stuart Branscombe himself. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Not much at all. It's actually been my first chill week at work for the first time, and I cannot remember how long. Sorry, I swear this is relevant, but you ever read that one kid story where it's like this old man, he's like trying to sleep in his house, but like everything is constantly making noise, so he goes to a wise man. The wise man tells him to get a cow. He gets a cow, and then not only is his noise loud, but so is the cow. So he goes back to the wise man. The wise man tells him to get a chicken. So then the cow and the chicken are keeping him up. And then he goes back a third time, and it's like, what the hell? And then the wise man tells him to get a pig. And then all three of these animals, before he knows it, his whole house is like filled with animals, and none of it is helping him sleep at all. So then the wise man says, oh yeah, now just let all the animals go. So he does. And then suddenly the small squeaks and then like all the things that were bothering him before just like don't seem to bother him anymore. That's kind of a good metaphor for how this week of work has been. It's like every issue I have, when we're not understaffed is still there, but they don't bother me as much because now, now that I've had to deal with that stuff on top of being understaffed, dealing with that stuff while we actually had our first week where we're actually staffed normally, it made me like not hate those issues as much as I normally do.
Nice. Hey, it is relevant, Stuart. I appreciate the story, man, as always.
But yeah, so
but
it
yeah.
was it was good to have a good week, basically.
That's good, man. I'm glad you're having a good week so far. Yeah, yesterday was pretty good here. Saturday, I'm trying to keep my boy a little bit active. We took his little three-wheeler around the block a few times. He wanted to walk around the neighborhood, so we kind of explored the neighborhood, walked down some streets we never went down before, sort of thing, before making our way back home. So it was a nice little time. The weather is it's cooling off a little bit. We did have some showers yesterday morning, which kind of helped. I think maybe it had give it a little bit of a breeze. So I'm hoping now that we're getting into October, November, the weather around here in Texas starts cooling down a bit for sure. So I am thankful for that.
Ooh, two-part question.
Yeah.
One, are you taking Noah trick or treating this year?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Awesome. And then part two to that question, what are you guys dressing up as?
We're probably not dressing up as anything, the parents. He wanted to be Superman this year, but his we didn't get a chance to get him his Superman costume. But Cindy went ahead and put on his fireman costume again from last year, because I think last year he wore it. It was kind of big on him, and she put it on him again like 2 days ago or something like that to see how it fit, and it fits great. And then he just went back into firefighter mode. So it seems like he's absolutely cool with rocking the firefighter costume and his helmet and everything again for this year. So maybe next year he'll want to be something else. But we'll see. But yeah, he's gonna be a firefighter again this year.
Cool.
Are you guys dressed up for Halloween at all?
I'm not sure. I might come up with a last minute costume, like just to put on for work or something, but I haven't really thought of what I wanted to do this year.
Yeah, work wise, sometimes they do allow us to wear costumes to work. I think like all this week they've got like each day. I think like the week before or 2 weeks before Halloween is like like it's got some sort of theme to it or something like that. So people may get the opportunity to dress up in multiple costumes throughout the week. I know there's like a Halloween pajama day or some crap like that. They got a couple other things at the work office that helps people get into the festivities for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. In my mind, the one thing, especially now that my hair is getting all wild, there's always been two things that I've always wanted to dress up as. One is Wolverine. I feel like I could pull off the Wolverine look really well with as furry as I am. And then for some reason, I've always wanted to do. Don't laugh at me when I say this. I've always wanted to be Michael Jackson for Halloween, like either the Thriller get up, the all red kind of get up that he rocks, or the Beat It. If you ever watched the
Yes.
music video for Beat It, those are the two like Michael Jackson dress ups I would always want to dress up as. Is there something you've always wanted to dress up as you've never had the opportunity to?
Ooh, something I've always wanted to dress up as. Uh I mean, I think like the costumes I've always wanted to do, but I've just never been able to, would probably fall more in line with like kind of cosplays,
Yeah.
like some of the bigger, like some of the cooler Power Ranger costumes, for example. Like I would love to do like Doggy Kruger from Power Rangers SPD, like that whole like not the dog costume that he wears, but like when he's like actually morphed like in his Power Ranger suit, like that would be incredible to try to pull off. I also one of these days want to try to, because I've seen tutorials on how to do it. So one of these days I want to try to do like kind of a zombie face, or just go as a zombie, because I've seen like
Mm.
some fun tutorials of how to do the makeup just right, how to make the gashes like for the faked wounds and all that, like just like like the right colors to use just to make it look like it's rotting, and what kind of material to use. Like you can use something as simple as like toilet paper on your face, make it like match your skin color, then you just rip it apart and it looks like torn flesh.
That's cool. That's pretty dope. I like that.
Yeah.
One cosplay I've always wanted to do, I think I might have mentioned this before. Outside of doing a Power Rangers things, I think that would always be fun. I've always wanted to be a Voltron character.
Ooh.
I've never, I have maybe only seen one Voltron suit in my entire life going to conventions, but I would absolutely love to be like an 80s Voltron character for sure.
Like the suits that they wear when they're inside the Voltron mech.
Yeah,
Ooh,
helmet
that'd
and
be
all.
cool.
I don't see those very often, so yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Look, are you guys dressing up for Halloween? Do you guys have any kiddos that you're going to be dressing up for the holiday season? Please go ahead and certainly let us know. With that out of the way, Stuart, let's go ahead and kick off today's episode. And we're going to get started with our honorable mentions portion of the show here. I don't know if you have any honorable mentions on your side at all, Stu. Do you?
Just that South Park is back. They the scheduling for this season has just been so weird, and what's even weirder is that like they've only done 5 episodes for season 28, or no, season 27, and now this new episode 6, is for some reason on Paramount Plus it's labeled as season 28 episode 1, even though it's very clearly the same production season, and it's still like last season didn't even have a conclusion. It's still continuing like the same arc. But that all being said, I loved it. They did so like the big 6-7 trend.
Yeah, I just hear kids say it all the time, and it's got like no meaning behind it. I mean, yeah, I hear about it though.
Yeah, there's like history, but no meaning behind it really. And so South Park did like their whole joke about it, and I loved it because like rather than trying to explain it, they just have it all through the adult's perspective. So you have they have like the celebrity they make fun of this week is Peter Thiel, and they have, because I guess like one of his many things on top of spying on millions of Americans and having access a guy like him should not have. On top of all that, apparently he's super obsessed with the Antichrist, so that's what they kind of play on in the episode. They even had this really catchy tune with it. Peter Till knows of the Antichrist. Peter Till knows of this. Is just so weird. But yeah, anyways, that all to be said, he basically starts thinking that 6-7 is like a satanic cult, and it's like gotta be one of the funniest like ways like to jump on like kind of I don't know to jump on a trend that like a lot of kids are into. I think people have been jokingly say that Matt Stone and Trey Parker need to keep their kids out of the writer's room.
That's pretty funny. I dig it. That's pretty funny. I gotta check that out for myself. Let's see here. Other honorable mentions here for today. We got Percy Jackson news. Kate McKinnon has joined the series. She's going to be playing the goddess Aphrodite. Believe it or not. I wonder if I probably could have found a better picture of Kate McKinnon. But that's the only one I could find next to Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Yeah, so Percy Jackson season 3 is underway, filming currently. They just announced also like a couple of weeks ago, Daphne Keane, who plays X-23, and then she also is recently in the Acolyte. She's also been cast. She's also been cast, I think, as another goddess for Percy Jackson. And then this week we got Kate McKinnon being announced as well.
My fiance pointed something funny out about her being cast in this. So basically in the books, it's explained that like Aphrodite, her form changes based on who's looking at her. And since, the show is called Percy Jackson, I think it's safe to assume that we're seeing her through Percy Jackson's perspective. So we now know what kind of women Percy Jackson's into.
I dig it. I love it. I will hold off for one other news for just a second, but Doctor Who is in the news this week. There's further speculation going on that they may be putting Doctor Who on hold right now. The most recent Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, he had a pretty short stint as the Doctor. I think he only did like 2 seasons of the Doctor. And Doctor Who kind of ended on a cliffhanger of a new regeneration, bringing back Billie Piper as Rose, potentially to be the next Doctor in line. But as of right now, there's really no plans for another season of Doctor Who, or if there is, it's really tight-lipped. As of right now, they have not made an announcement for future seasons. And a former writer, I believe, of Doctor Who recently came out and said that he believes that the run for Doctor Who may be over. So this may be, for those of you who don't know, I mean, Doctor Who's been a really long-running series, and it also had gotten postponed and put on the shelves and canceled for quite a few years, and I think was revitalized again back in 2005 with the return of, I think his name is, was it Christian Eccleston? Who came back and did the Doctor, and it's been on air for like 20 years now since then. But it seems that it may be going into some level of hiatus or whatever the case may be. But as of right now, there's no word as to whether or not there's going to be another season of Doctor Who. So there's rampant speculation that the series may be over for now. Maybe with a potential return in the future, but yeah.
That's crazy. Because it was the same thing with who was it? Jodie Whittaker. Because she was only in for, if I'm not mistaken, 2 seasons as well. So I do wonder, is it because like the actor? Because I mean, I've stopped watching Doctor Who since the Peter Capaldi era. I have been wanting to get back into it though. But I did see the first episode the first season though, mostly because they played it in the first episode in theater, so I wanted to continue it. But I saw the first season of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor run, but I never watched season 2 of it. And yeah, it's just funny because I remember the first one that had like only 1 season was the first Doctor with Christopher Eccleston, right? That's his name.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because he was the first one that had only 1 season, but then once they got to David Tennant, that was like at least like
At
3 or
least
4
five.
seasons,
Yeah, it
5
felt like
seasons,
four. Yeah, it
yeah.
felt like 4 or 5. Yeah.
And then same with Matt Smith, like both of their, and then Peter Capaldi, all 3 of their runs went on for several years. So it's kind of funny we go from that to like 2 seasons now. So I wonder, if they do bring it back, with the actress that played Rose, is it going to be the same thing? Is she only going to be around for 2 seasons?
Yeah, I have. I really have no idea. I mean, it can really go any direction at this point. I hope it doesn't end. I mean, I'm very much with you. After Capaldi, I kind of fell off and stopped watching. I tried to watch Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who. I watched the first couple of episodes. The writing just felt a little bit different to me. Like it just didn't cling to me like some of the previous writing that we had gotten. I believe it was the return of the one of the other original showrunners from the reboot, Russell T Davies. But I don't know. Maybe I just didn't give it a fair shot and try and watch the entire season, but it just didn't resonate with me, unfortunately. So I'm hoping that they find some kind of magic and gold and bring it back. But it's been on the series, it's been on air for another 20 years now. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys up to date. Also, we got How to Train Your Dragons in the news. Mason, is his name Mason Thames? Mason Thames? I can't remember his name. The actor that played Hiccup recently gave an interview and stated that within a couple of weeks here, maybe towards the end of October, beginning of November, production is beginning on the How to Train Your Dragon sequel. The live action sequel is set to go ahead and start production here relatively soon. So once we start getting photos and set photos and stuff, we'll definitely keep you guys up to date. But Mason himself did state that he had a couple things he had to do for like a couple press runs here for brand new movies that were dropping. But by the end of October and November, he was going to be on set filming. So How to Train Your Dragon going into production in a couple of weeks for the sequel. Also, one of you got something? You had something, Stuart? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what's crazy is that despite the hype that I kind of had for the movie, I still haven't seen it. the
Oh,
live
it's like
action one.
it's on your like most anticipated movies of the year.
Oh, was it? That doesn't surprise me. But yeah, hopefully it comes to Paramount soon. Because wait, I think they were the ones that produced it, right?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But yeah,
I gotta think it's in on streaming services. Somebody let us know in the comments if How to Train Your Dragons on streaming. I believe it is though. Whether I don't know whether it's on video on demand, we have to pay for it. I'm not sure, but I mean, Superman is out now. I would assume How to Train Your Dragons got to be streaming for free.
yeah.
Um, it's funny I say that because there's one film that was on my top 5 most anticipated that I haven't had the opportunity to see yet, and that's The Legend of Ochi. That was like in and out of theaters in like 2 weeks, so I missed the opportunity to see it. But I do believe it is now on streaming, so I have to find that out. Also in the news this week, this is not casting news. I just want to clarify that this is not casting news. But one of the writers from Marvel Television, he was a writer of the Loki series, and he is also an additional writer for Avengers Doomsday, Michael Waldron. He recently came out and was talking about Avengers Doomsday a little bit. And for some reason, I don't know how casting or like his fan casting for certain people came into the conversation. But he talked about his love for Glenn Powell and how he thought Glenn Powell would make a fantastic Nova. And for those of you who don't know, Nova is currently being worked on behind the scenes, whether that be in a movie form or a television form. They haven't quite decided yet, but Nova's been in like early development for quite some time. I do think it will eventually make the light of day. Just don't know in which format here. But Michael Waldron himself threw out the name of Glenn Powell for Nova, and Stuart, I can't unsee it now. Like I can't unsee it now. I think his man would make a great Richard Rider, especially. So I kind of want this now, Stuart.
Yeah. I don't know too much about Nova as a character, but I mean, I feel like Ryan Gosling in the MCU, it's about time, and I think Nova would be kind of a good character to introduce him as.
You want Ryan Gosling
Mm-hmm.
as Nova?
Yeah, I think it could work.
Okay, all right, yeah, I dig the Glenn Powell fan casting here from Michael Waldron personally. Um, he's supposed to be now in the upcoming Running Man movie with Edgar Wright here, in a couple of has it dropped? Maybe it drops here in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking.
pretty soon.
Yeah, I would love to see Glenn Powell as him. I think I don't know too much about Richard Rider either as like a character, but like I think like visually I could definitely see Glenn Powell as a Nova. We'll
See,
see what happens.
if this was before the first Ant-Man movie, you know who I think he would have been like perfect for is specifically Glenn Powell as Hank Pym, Ant-Man, like young.
Ah,
So maybe if they want to like do flashbacks of Ant-Man, like Hank Pym Ant-Man, I think they could, even though he doesn't really look anything like Michael Douglas. I don't know. I just think that'd be the role he'd be perfect for.
I dig it. I like that actually too. I like that actually too. Let's see here. What else do we got? And then last but not least, we did get ourselves a brand new trailer this week. I don't know if you happen to catch this, Stuart. This is from Sam Raimi, new Sam Raimi film titled Send Help. It's starring Rachel McAdams along with Dylan O'Brien from the Maze Runner series. Um, she's the boss now. Did you get a chance to see the trailer for this by any chance?
No, this is my first time hearing about it.
Bro, this trailer looks so fun. This shit looks so good. So the trailer starts out with Rachel McKinnon's character. She's like this secretary or this person that works at this big corporate office sort of thing, right? She looks all disheveled and stuff. You know, she's been working her ass off. And her boss is played by Dylan O'Brien, who brings her in for the meeting and just tears her to shreds in this meeting, you know? Um, but he's like, I'm gonna give you another opportunity, right? To prove your worth in this company. And he's like, you gotta do this. So he gives her like all these things she's gotta do. So he takes her on this company business trip, and he's just like an asshole, Stuart. I mean, this guy's like asshole of a boss, and she's just along for this ride, sort of thing. So they go, and the plane crashes, and they're stuck on a deserted island, and it's just him and her, and he's injured, and she seems to like whip out all of her like she seems like the most unsuspected like survivalist. Like she's like making rafts, she's like tying stuff together, like she's hunting, she's fishing, she's doing all this stuff. And now she's the boss, according to the according to the poster here. And it just looks like the perfect Sam Raimi movie, dude. Like it just really like if you know Sam Raimi's style when it comes to like just his horror elements and things like that, the two of them together look like they're going to be great. The horror elements are going to be great. I do expect maybe a couple twists and turns here to kind of be revealed. But Rachel McAdams as like the crazy secretary lady that finally gets the opportunity to show her boss something and have some level of control. It's a good one. I highly recommend you check out the trailer if you haven't seen it yet. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I meant to say I definitely will now.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, check out the trailer, guys. But yeah, I think that will do it for our honorable mentions here today. Before we get into our main topics, though, I do want to go ahead and give some shout out to people that are joining us live here today. Enrique says, "Hey Adam, just saw the first look promotional poster banner at the new looks of Woody and Buzz in the upcoming Toy Story 5. Have you guys checked that out yet? I have not.
Didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, see if you can find it. First look promotional poster banner for Toy Story 5. Also, official trailer for the new documentary special Fire and Water, making the Avatar films, and it'll be arriving on Disney Plus soon. Yeah, they did drop a trailer. They are apparently going to be making a making of Avatar Fire and Water, Fire and Ash. They made a new poster, but they also dropped a trailer. I don't remember when the release date of it's going to be, but it looked incredible. Like I think we're always blown away by the technology and the filmmaking that James Cameron does when it comes to these Avatar movies. But to kind of see the level of depth the amount of training that these actors have to go through, how the motion capture works and things like that, seeing their performances before that they're even like covered up with the CGI effects and things like that. I think this is going to be a great making of piece, and I think it's really going to do wonders in regards to getting people to come out to see this next installment of Avatar here this December. But it looks good. The making of trailer looked really good.
Mm.
What else we got here? Ricky says, saw the official new trailer for the upcoming new Lego Frozen um, Operation Puffins, and it'll be arriving on Disney Plus soon. I think Kristen Bell, who voices the main character in Frozen, did come out and say she recently just saw or just read the script for Frozen 3. I think Frozen 3 is supposed to come out like 2030 or some crazy shit like that, or 2028 or something crazy. But she has said she did see the script. What else we got here? He also says last Friday, Disney Channel just aired the season finale of the second season of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, and the ending scene was sad. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Enrique. I haven't checked out this season, so we got Blossom in the house. What's up, Blossom? Good to see you as always. Ram Jam just watched the trailer for Ninja Kids Power Rangers web series. Yeah, have you seen this trailer, Stuart?
I have. I absolutely love the costume designs in this. Honestly, like when the news about this like was first like kind of coming out, when people were like showing the set photos, like I thought it was just going to be kind of a cool like 5 minute like short or something like that. Oh, that just happened to have like a really good production behind it. But it kind of surprised me that there's like actually it looks like there's like actually a plot to it and everything. Yeah, it looks a lot more interesting than I expected. And then a YouTuber pointed this out. I actually do kind of like that this is one of the first like Power Ranger helmets where they don't have like kind of the lip pieces, like kind of like, you know, in the mouth guard area. It's
Oh,
just like, it's just completely blank. And kind of looking at it, I realize I actually think it looks better in
without
that sense.
the lips.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
I'll
yeah,
have to
no,
check
I
that
think it
out then.
looks pretty cool. I'm excited for it.
The um somebody on Twitter, Toku J, apparently he helped design the costumes for it also. So shout out to Toku J in regards to actually his work getting actually, you know, utilized for the web series and things like that. Yeah, I saw the trailer too. I would agree that in the sense that storyline wise elements, I am kind of surprised by that. I am kind of curious how long this web series is even gonna be. If it's just like 5 episodes, 8 episodes, or like are they bite sized? Are they like 10-minute episodes, 15-minute episodes? I really have no idea the format of it. But I will say there has been a lot of pushback against this trailer recently, though, Stuart, like within the last 24, 48 hours, because of the idea of people are complaining about the AI usage in regards to this trailer. Um,
Ooh, I didn't
I,
notice.
yeah, like some of the special effects use is AI heavy. I think they like even their Goldar um that they have, like the moving of the mouth and stuff. I think all that is like AI generated. I think like the scene, the the Lord Zed costume kind of come on, like the helmets and stuff. Like I think all that is kind of AI generated also. So yeah, they got a lot of fans right now that are really upset about this series, to the point of like they're just like, we don't even want this shit no more. So I think even Toku J, the guy that designed the costumes himself, feels some type of way about his work being utilized in that sense, in combination with AI stuff. But you know, I don't really know how all this kind of came together. I know this is Hasbro collaborating with Ninja Kids, so I got to assume that if there is like if look, my thing is if Hasbro's involved, I gotta assume that they have some level of money they could have used to hire like special effects artists to kind of do this stuff, even though it is kind of like a web kid series. Like the idea of it being like a kid series, like if it was fan made, like if this wasn't getting released and it was fan made, I could understand maybe fans utilizing AI to kind of produce something. But if it is like a if it is being produced by Hasbro in some way, shape, or form, I definitely would have supported them to have utilized special effects at least and hired people to actually do it. Um, but they're just trying to be as cheap as they possibly can. But it is a kid show also in that sense. Like this feels like this is even like kiddier than what we were getting for Power Rangers. But yeah, some fans are definitely feeling some type of way about the AI usage for this.
Mm.
What else we got? Ram Jam here also says, um, I'm on episode 34 of Goes User. Tonight, gonna watch episode 35. Let me know what you think of the series, man. Let me know what you think. I haven't checked it out myself yet. Tony Robinson, what's up, Adam and Stuart? Good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you always coming through, man. Frankie, morning, Adam and Stuart. How to Train Your Dragon is on Peacock. There you go, Stuart. Mason Thames also
Oh,
said in the
cool.
interview, he also said in an interview he would love to play the Dick Grayson version of Robin in the new DCU. Okay, all right. Well, look, to be fair to Mason Thames, if we are getting to this point, if it holds up that we have uh a Damian Wayne in here, how old is Mason Thames anyway? He may be a little bit too young to be playing Nightwing at this point in his career. But maybe a Tim Drake, maybe somebody else. I don't know. I think him as a young Dick Grayson version of Robin, I think would be legit. I would be down for that.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how old he is, if he's old enough to play Nightwing at that point, but that's cool though. I love to hear it.
I think he is currently 17 years old. So,
Mason Thames?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if he were to play Robin, I mean, I guess because like Batman Brave and the Bold likely won't come out until like 2030 or something. I'm just not expecting it anytime soon. So I mean, he might age up by the time that movie got released. But either way, I'm kind of with you. I would want someone a little bit older, someone probably in their mid 20s to like early 30s. Who I'd actually be down to see, play Robin, because even though I absolutely hated the show Titans, I do think Brenton Thwaites had a lot of potential in that
Yeah.
role. So you know
Yeah.
what? If James Gunn wanted to give him a second chance, because again, I thought his performance was pretty good for
Yeah.
what he was given. Yeah, let's bring him back.
A stamp of approval. I approve that message. Kiki and Luca in the house. Cameron is arguably the best filmmaker of our time. The visuals are amazing. People don't seem to like or want Avatar, but they make almost $3 billion. Yeah,
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 that's accurate.
that's
People
very
keep
accurate.
saying, "Who asked for this?" And three
Yeah,
billion
these
dollars
movies are
later,
so
apparently
boring.
this many people.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean it's crossed the $2 billion mark, I believe. Um, yeah, somebody I saw somebody on the John Campia's show say if if Avatar 3 doesn't cross $2 billion, is it a failure? Like is it a flop? Like what are you talking about? Like that's so like the fact that Avatar has raised the bar that much that it's got to make $2 billion for its next entry is pretty crazy to me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, these movies keep making money for sure. It feels like I don't know. I don't know how to explain Avatar, but like Avatar feels very I don't know how to explain it. It feels like I don't want to say an American modern like day masterpiece, like the fact that Avatar is an animated movie that talks about like indigenous people being colonized or trying to fight colonization from outside people. Um, and like this movie just garnered so much love. The first one, like especially after waiting so long for the first one, for the second one, and then come out and make I think even more at the box office on its first run than the first one certainly did. Um, and now let's see like the level of excitement. The fact that Fire and Ash actually looks really damn good, like maybe even better than The Way of Water from visually from what I've been able to see from the trailers. James Cameron just continues to like he just I don't know, like he's just got the secret sauce in regards to creating something just unique and special. I don't know how Avatar, I'm assuming Avatar's got to do really well internationally to make that type of money, but yeah, I don't know how to explain Avatar. Avatar just seems like it's its own unique one of one, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think because like with most good sci-fi and just good stories, it borrows elements
Hmm.
from like several other things. So it's like, you know, it was funny when the first Avatar movie came out and people were like, "Oh, this is just Dances with
Dancing
Wolves
with
in outer
Wolves, right?
space," you know, and it's like. That was funny, but at the same time, if we're gonna start, you know, judging movies based on what they're similar to, that okay, Star Wars is just Hidden Fortress in space, you know. So it's like it's a dumb idea, and if it's full on plagiarizing the script of Dances with Wolves, then that's one thing. But it's not. It's taking inspirations from that type of a story, you know, like you said about colonizing and basically trying to fight for your home, and that kind of stuff. It's like yeah, and it does something unique with that story, which is how stories are meant to be told. So I think like what just happened is like that, like someone made a joke about that back in 2010, and then everyone started making that joke, but like without it being a joke, and started to like actually use that pretending it's real criticism because they thought it made them sound smart or something like that. But yeah, I'm definitely with you. Like I really enjoy the Avatar movies. I don't think they're like, I think they're visually like, you know, absolutely incredible. I wouldn't say they're like my favorite movies or anything like that, but you know, when they come out, I watch them. And I mean, you know, we've had two so far, and both times I've seen them in theaters. So it'll probably be the same with this third one, because yeah, this third one looks like it's, you know, going to be as fun as the previous two. And I know that even if I don't like the writing, I will undoubtedly really love just like looking at the movie, because that's one thing that I know this movie is definitely going to get right, is the visuals for sure.
Yeah, and I highly recommend everybody check out the making of Fire and Ash or add the making of Avatar when it drops on Disney Plus. I think it'll blow you away and give you even more appreciation of what James Cameron is doing with these films. Shout out to Dreamy Eyes. What's up, Dreamy? Appreciate you coming through over on Twitch today for us. In your honest opinion, which is better, DC or Marvel Comics? Considering that I've gotten back into my collecting work right now, if I had to say like who's making the best comic books right now, I gotta go with DC Comics, man. DC Comics is just, whether it be the crossover stuff with their DCKO, whether it be their Superman runs, their amazing artistry that they have currently working with them. I mean, we're talking Jorge Jimenez, who's doing the artistry for the new Batman, Dan Mora currently on Superman. I mean, they just have top-notch stories, comic book artists. Their absolute run has been amazing for them also, outside of just some of the crossover event stuff that they wind up having right now. I think what Marvel has going for them right now is their ultimate universe. I think their ultimate universe is doing relatively well, along with their amazing Spider-Man run. But outside of that, I don't really know of too much Marvel stuff I can really sink my teeth into and grab. Whereas when it comes to DC Comics, I almost feel like they're knocking it out of the park right now. So I think DC Comics, as of this moment right now, is doing God's work, man. I've been really impressed with DC Comics.
Man, that's perfect. It's a perfect time too for DC to like really amp up their game too, because you know, with Superman being like the movie
Yeah,
that really
they got a
got a
lot of
lot more
momentum.
people in. Yeah, exactly. Got more people into comic books. Yeah, it's a perfect way to keep that momentum going.
Marvel Comics does have also like Captain America by Chip Zdarsky, which is great too. So they do got some bangers. I'm not saying like all Marvel comics are bad, but I just mean from like the momentum and the big storylines and the doing things fresh and unique. Yeah, DC Comics is killing it right now. Have you ever been to TwitchCon? I bring it up since it's in San Diego right now where I live. I've heard of it. I've never been. I always, but maybe 1 year, maybe 1 year ago.
Because it's usually like, I don't know, is TwitchCon usually for like Twitch streamers, or is it like just a variety of different different
I don't
things?
know. I don't know. I really don't know how it works. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll figure out one day and we'll go.
Because
Maybe we got to bolster ourselves on Twitch a little bit more.
oh yeah, because before I started dating my fiance, like she used to go to TwitchCon every now and then, and that's where she met PewDiePie. You got a fun picture of the two of them together.
That's dope. That's dope. All right, guys. Well, with the honorable mentions and the comments out of the way, look, as we go through these topics, we always want to know your guys' thoughts. So feel free to always go ahead and leave your thoughts in the live chat. As we go through these topics, we always want to know your points of view as well. So we have somebody else to converse back and forth with and things like that. So as we go through these topics, let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section after this video is certainly shown. And if you want to help us out monetarily, super chats are available, super images. It definitely helps us grow here as a channel, as we currently have no sponsors. But if you can't help us out monetarily, that's certainly more than fine. Hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, all of that is free, takes 1 second out of your time, and it really does help us out. Kiki and Lucas says Avatar 2.9 billion, Endgame 2.8 billion. Avatar 2, 2.3 billion, Titanic 2.2 billion. Cameron is responsible for 3 of the top 4 movies of all time box office. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. It's pretty
Heck
remarkable.
yes, thank you.
Kiki and Luca, Kiki and Luca. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Always coming through. Thank you for always supporting the channel. Thank you so much. Have you guys talked about the rumor that Gunn may be out with the merger? Yeah, we kind of highlighted that last week for a live viewer question. Somebody brought that up. I think it was reported by Cosmic Book News or something like that. Usually a pretty unreliable source. But one of the things that I did say is that because of the fact that they really didn't have any sources, there were no links or anything like that to support their claims. I always say when it comes to cosmic book news, always be very wary of them. It's a lot of rage bait over there. But the reality of it is, and to be fair to them, this is a reason why you sometimes you throw things to the wall and hope that it sticks. This is one of those things that could possibly stick. And one of the things that we've talked about is rumors or not, anytime somebody comes in that's brand new and purchases a company, it's very much like a football team. When you hire new management, when you hire a new coach, they have people that they want to bring in, also people that they trust, that they certainly know to run some of their organization as well. So anytime that there is a merger, there is always the chance of people who are in being out at some point in time. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that if Paramount does pick up Warner Brothers, that they could be like, hey, James Gunn, we appreciate what you're doing, but we have a different vision on where we want the DCU to certainly go. Thank you for your time, but we're going to take this in a different direction. And I don't know if what type of contract James Gunn has planned. I don't know if contracts go out the window when mergers happen. If they give him a severance pay and he's like, hey, severance package, and like, hey, let's move on. So yes, the possibility of it happening is very real. Is it factual that it is definitely happening? I would say no. But if the merger happens, it is a possibility. Same thing with like Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi over at Warner Brother Pictures. Could they be out? Absolutely. If David Ellison wants to bring somebody else in to run those segments of those studios, he has all that right to do that if he wants to. So there is a possibility that James Gunn may be out due to the merger. But I'm hoping if the merger does happen that they recognize the work, his overall plan, see that it's working, and maybe give him a shot to continue to do that.
Yep. David Zasloff, this is your chance at a redemption arc. All you got to do is not sell it. Just say no to selling it. All right. Say no to selling Warner Brothers. Mergers are bad. Let's stop this merger from happening. Come on. Redemption arc, David.
He's already turned down one offer. We'll see how many offers Paramount continues to throw their way. I think the big question will really be like, if Warner Brothers decides to continue to, they again they have a plan in place, Warner Brothers, to separate the company in regards to like movies and their streaming services into one batch, and then all of their like cable network television stuff that they have, like Discovery and Food Network and all that stuff, to kind of siphon that off into its own company. And if they are able to do that, I think they plan on doing that like in April or May of next year. If they plan on doing that and separating it, then you can sell any portion that you want. So maybe Paramount will then try and offer them another bid for like the movie and the streaming service side of things, and let somebody else buy the cable television network stuff. So always a lot of moving parts, but Paramount seems pretty serious about the merger. It's just a matter of whether or not Warner Brothers will pick up their offers. So we'll see what happens there.
Mm-hmm. We will indeed.
All right. With that out of the way, we will now officially get into our main topics of the day here, ladies and gentlemen. As we got a couple of really big ones to certainly talk about. Stranger Things final season. We're going to get into a little bit of a preview for you guys. Batgirl is in the news, believe it or not, kind of resurfacing a little bit. It should be fun to kind of talk about that one. Even some potential Wolverine news. We'll see how this that turns out, and a ton more, guys. So let's go ahead and kick off, Stuart, with Stranger Things. We are getting ready to say farewell to the cast and crew of this particular show. The first few episodes are set to go ahead and drop for the final season around Thanksgiving. And then I do believe the second part's going to be around Christmas. And then the last part is going to be New Year's Eve. So they're being very strategic, if you will, with how they're rolling this season out. But for me, Stuart, the anticipation continues to build, and I personally cannot wait for this season. We got a couple of articles here, one from Variety and one from Empire Magazine. So let's just go ahead and dive into this, Stuart. First up will be Variety, talking with the Duffer Brothers a little bit. I did go ahead and highlight some parts of this article that I wanted to talk about with you, and get your thoughts on it. Saying goodbye to Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers tells all on season 5 secrets, the tearful finale, and leaving Netflix for Paramount. This is an exclusive article from them. Um, so one of the things that I find interesting is the pressure that the Duffer Brothers must be feeling. And I thought this article did a really good job of highlighting just that. It says, like Game of Thrones and Lost at their height, Stranger Things has seized the public's imagination by blending a deep ensemble of richly drawn characters with dazzling and expensive genre storytelling on a cinematic scale. Like those earlier shows, too, Stranger Things has woven a naughty mythology, in this case involving a phantasmagorical alternate dimensions called the Upside Down. First off, I want to pat myself on the back for getting phantasmagorical right on the first pronunciation. Called the Upside Down, that's populated with ferocious supernatural entities alongside a nefarious government program bent on weaponizing children with psychic abilities. And now the Duffers must somehow resolve all these plot threads along with the storylines of a massive cast, a daunting undertaking, especially considering how many prior hits haven't stuck the landing. This is what some of them say. Sean Levy says this, the executive producer. They have had their hearts broken by shows that they love that failed fans in the end. Um, they did not want and do not want and refuse to be one of those shows. The Duffers are acutely aware that the way they conclude Stranger Things matters more than any other creative decision they've made over the past decade. They've been almost monomaniacally determined to deliver a climactic final 8 episodes that provide not only a feeling of resolution, but a satisfying inevitability, so that, as Ross puts it, when future Netflix subscribers binge the entire series, it doesn't feel like we dropped a storyline. it all connects. He says, we do every last remaining thing we wanted to do with the Demogorgons and Mind Flayer and Vecna and the Upside Down and Hawkins and these characters. This is a complete story. It's done. As for how much money they spent along the way, the Duffers declined to elaborate. We want to spend as much money as it is to realize the vision of what's on the page, and this season is no different. And they suggest that it might have cost them anywhere between $50 million to $60 million per episode here. So Stuart, in other words, the pressure is on. The pressure is on for the Duffers. Look, as somebody that watched Lost during its entirety in its run, I saw the finale air in movie theaters, which was an incredible experience in and of itself. I personally thought Lost stuck the landing. I loved the landing. And it really upset me in the sense that everywhere else that I read, nobody seemed to understand the ending. Nobody seemed to really like get it and really just sort of shit on the finale of Lost for a really, really long time. I feel like it's just now that people are kind of coming back and like, I don't want to say finding Lost again, but rewatching it and appreciating the finale for Lost for what it certainly was. I know what I took away from the finale of Lost, but other people clearly didn't. And other people clearly didn't like the ending of Game of Thrones here. So I think when you are sort of like this zeitgeist moment of a television series, like those two shows have been in regards to changing how people view television or intake television and just do something completely out of the norm that just, captures the audience imagination, there is a lot of pressure to certainly get it right. I'm sure there's always going to be people that feel some type of way. But when it comes to Stranger Things, Stuart, do you think they can stick the landing? What are your thoughts?
I definitely think they're going to deliver on everything that they promised here, which is that, what we're going to get in this last season is going to likely conclude every like loose thread that they've left within the storyline. Like I do 100% believe them when they say that. Whether or not it means they're going to stick the landing, we'll have to wait and see. When it comes to Stranger Things, I think like what's interesting is that like I don't think any season has recaptured the same feeling as the first season, but I also think they've never really tried to, except maybe with season 2, they kind of did. I feel like season 2 was like the one season I didn't like because I feel like that was just kind of like the one where they were just trying so many different things and not all of it worked. But season 3 and 4, I really enjoyed, of course. Although this complaint I know is definitely gonna be probably still prevalent in season 5, but I know that like when season 4 came out, one of my biggest problems was that like every episode was so long and there was always like the side plot that I just like bored me every time, which is the Russian side plot. So I know that'll definitely be in season 5, of course. But yeah, no, I totally believe them though when they say that they are going to cover everything. Everything will be loosely threaded. But as for the other part of you mentioning that there's probably a lot of pressure going on with them, maybe, but I also think they don't have quite the pressure that other series finales had, because usually most series finales are usually like, done within like a year. So like most seasons are usually done like a year, maybe like in Game of Thrones case, they had a little bit over a year, but it was still like, within a year. Whereas the Duffer Brothers, they've had quite a lot of time to plan this out. So, they may have had pressure, but I don't think it was nearly as intense as other series finales have had like in the past. I think here they've had so much time to like not only write it out, but also reflect on it, think about it, all this time before even going into production. And then like even maybe when going into production, they've probably had some time to also change a few things up if they needed to. So yeah, when it comes to what they promise, I do think that they're going to deliver. The show hasn't really dipped in quality at all. Like, you know, it's definitely changed a lot over the years, but I would never really say that it's completely like dipped in quality in terms of its writing. So I do think that we're going to get a pretty at the very least it'll be like a very conclusive finale. And I do think it'll be pretty satisfying too, you know, to get closure on everything. Maybe it'll be a little bit too much. Maybe we'll get like a Lord of the Rings type of epilogue. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's from what they're promising here and from what we've seen from the show so far, I do have quite a bit of hope for the way the show's going to end. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think you do make a good point in the sense like Game of Thrones, even though sometimes it did feel like forever that we had to wait between seasons, um, the turnaround time for them was usually quicker than Stranger Things seasons for sure. And so I do think that the Duffers have probably taken their time to like write their scripts, look over it, change anything that they need to, throw out whole concepts if they need to, and kind of start from scratch sort of mentality. So you might be right in that regards. Let's see here. Also, it says aside from the delays, and this kind of talks about the idea of like how long it's taken them to get to this point for the series. Aside from the delays caused by the pandemic and guild strikes, the Duffers admit their immersion was a problem of their own making. It says they were determined to direct as much of the show as possible, which is almost unheard of for showrunners working in genre television. Including the finale, they have helmed 24 out of 42 episodes. Their favorite filmmakers, such as Michael Mann, Peter Weir, and David Fincher, tend to be obsessive, is what they say. But they also understand that it didn't have to turn out this way. He says, part of me regrets not having been able to tell more stories over the course of 10 years. Sometimes I wonder about that because it ate up our entire 30s. I wish we had got it done a little faster, but it is what it is. He shoots a quick look at Ross, who jumps in. But when we started, it was very early Netflix, he says. He says, I don't know how many other opportunities there are going to be to tell stories of this length and on that size canvas. So whenever I have the regrets that Matt was saying, I'm excited that we're able to take advantage of this very specific period of time in the industry. To go this long was our choice. We could have jumped ship and done movies, and we elected not to. And I'm glad we didn't. We finished telling this story, and luckily we weren't too old when we started it, so we're okay. I mean, Ridley Scott didn't start making movies until he was in his 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So he does talk about the idea that one of the reasons why this series has gone on as long as it has is pretty much partially because of them. But when you also take into consideration the idea of them doing a lot of the heavy lifting for themselves, when they literally have done more than 40%, more than 50% of the shows, because he's right in the sense of most showrunners do not direct their own stuff. Usually they may do a couple of episodes here and there, and then they'll delegate the directing work to other people. So the Duffers have really taken on a lot more, which in turn I think has made this series go on for as long as it certainly has.
Yeah, I remember in my film classes, one thing that my teacher would say is that there's a saying on film sets: "Keep the writers out."
Yeah, and they're the writers, you know what I'm saying? So it's I'm sure
Yeah.
it's interesting. It says also, I think this is also interesting one in regards to the success of Stranger Things in the upcoming finale. This is something that I was really curious about, and they kind of addressed it here. But it says the success of K-pop Demon Hunters sing-along theatrical event in August and the IMAX release of Greta Gerwig's Chronicles of Narnia adaptation sparked a glimmer of hope for the Duffers that the Stranger Things finale can be shown in theaters. Um, One of them says
Hmm.
people don't get to experience how much time and effort is spent on sound and picture, and they're seeing it at reduced quality. More than that, it's about experiencing it at the same time with fans. When Variety did ask Baharia. I don't know who she is. Maybe she's somebody that works at Netflix. The idea of putting the finale in theaters. However, she shoots it down. She says a lot of people, a lot of people have watched Stranger Things on Netflix, she says. It has not suffered from lack of conversation or community or sharing or fandom. I think releasing it on Netflix is giving the fans what they want. You know,
I mean,
go
I don't see why just because it does good in one aspect doesn't mean you can't do the other aspect as well. Because, like I brought it up earlier when we were talking about Doctor Who. Like I watched one of the episodes, the season premiere of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who, like in theaters. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a weird sentiment. So just
bro.
because like Stranger Things does good on Netflix, I don't think that means people won't go see the season finale like in theaters if they do like a 2-day event or something. I'm not saying like give it a full theatrical run, but I think like doing like a cool Fandango event of some sort, like yeah, I'd go to see that.
Netflix is so anti movie theaters, bro. Like,
Yeah.
if like they've got to be so reluctant to like have to release any of their content in theaters for any amount of time. Like, even if it just means being Oscar worthy, I'm sure that they are probably pulling their hair out for like, you mean we got to release it for 2 weeks? Oh my god! Like, I'm sure they hate having to do shit like this, but it's in the sense of like how big the Netflix audience is for this. You can't tell me that like releasing it in limited screens at certain theaters for like 1 or 2 days, or just like simulcasting it when it airs on Netflix the same time in theaters, like that be able to do for just like a 1 day event or a 2 day event. You cannot tell me that that is going to take a hit from like your Netflix viewer numbers. Like I just cannot imagine um them taking any sort of level of hit for something like that. You know, you talked about Doctor Who, I talked about watching Lost on the big screen, and it was just in a completely different environment. Like it just felt absolutely different. And when you've got something like Stranger Things that is sort of on that Spielberg sort of coming of age supernatural kind of event, like that's something that deserves to be put on the big screen for people to kind of enjoy. So, you know, uh, Netflix just wants to ruin people's fun, man. Like they just like I said, just do a Fathom event one night would be fantastic for people to be able to see that they say, "Hey, look, I saw this Stranger Things finale on the big screen." Because the Lost finale for me will always stay in my head because I saw it on the big screen. It's those type of things that you I think as a company you should want to go out of your way to reward the fans that have been following this show for such a long time and give them something a little bit special, because at the end of the day it's not going to hurt your bottom dollar like at all. But
Mhm.
I think processes like this, or thought processes like this, just continue to remind me like you guys just don't like the movies, dude. Like you guys are just anti movie theaters. Like you can't hide it from me anymore.
Yeah, I still stand by what I say. If they're so anti like theaters, I think what they should be is aiming it towards chain theaters and like giving independent theaters like some of their Netflix exclusives. I think that
Yes.
would
Yes.
actually, if they really want to give a middle finger to the theater industry, help
Yeah.
out the smaller theaters, you know?
You know, to be fair, they're doing that for Del Toro's Frankenstein. That movie is getting a short theatrical run also. I believe you could probably find it in theaters as of the 17th, but definitely by next weekend you should be able to. But when I look it up, it's the smaller, it's you have to go to Fandango. It's not at Cinemark, it's not at AMC. It's like the Angelica, which around here is like usually for smaller independent filmmaker movies type of thing. I mean, every once in a while they may have a big movie there, but it's usually towards the independent films. So the fact that Netflix is at least handing it out to things like the Angelica here in the DFW area, I think something like that is perfect if you don't want to do a mass, release of it, but something limited. I would agree with you, Stuart. Give it to the independent theaters that need it the most.
Yeah.
And this is the last portion of this article. It says, going into the writer's room, they knew the biggest question they needed to answer were about what the upside down was, Ross says. Every season would be like, should we talk about it? No, let's wait. And then finally, we're like, well, we have to now. Beyond that, though, when mapping out the final season, everything was on the table when we first started. We had the names of every character on the whiteboard, and it was like anything is possible for any of these characters. They could live or die. They could end up together or not together, especially as the show's arc drew towards the final climax. The writers had to deliver enormous spectacles, she says, while not allowing it to devolve into a CG slime fest. Where do you really care? Where you don't really care who's doing what and why. He says, how do we keep it grounded in what the show is really about? It's never cynical. It's never winking at you. It's looking toward that core of innocence and how you maintain that as you grow older or are beset by all the nightmares of the world. As they work on the final scripts, especially, she says, we went back over and over and over and over dozens of times. They would start writing it, they'd come back, we'd blow it up, we'd just rinse and repeat. The Duffers studied series finales that they felt worked, such as the final installments of 6 Feet Under, Friday Night Lights, and even Sopranos, whose cut to black was controversial at the time, but is now widely respected. The best
Mhm.
ones were very true to themselves. The shows that are trying to be super clever, I think that's where it can go wrong really quickly. It helped that they were writing towards specific towards something specific, is what Matt said. We know roughly what the end scene was for years. It wasn't something we had to strain to come up with. There were elements of it that were discussed for weeks, but the core idea of the ending we had for a really long time. He stops and adjusts his baseball hat with Stephen King's face. He says, anyway, we're really happy with the way that it ended. He says with a sigh, it's nerve wracking to put it out. I'm sure people will have opinions, is what he says. So look, I think when it comes to something like this, um, especially for the Stranger Things, um, the one thing that I've always appreciated about it is like, look, I love the supernatural elements to it. And I think when you do have sort of this coming of age supernatural kind of story, I do think the show should have a semi like supernatural ending, something that like can't be fully understood or defined. Like I'm sure, like you said, Stuart, maybe we'll get ourselves like a Lord of the Rings 16 epilogue, sort of ending. And I think there will certainly be aspects of it that definitely do come to a close. But I think there is still something in regards to the mystery
Mhm.
that I think people really love when it comes to Stranger Things. And so I don't want to say, end it on a cliffhanger, but I would be okay if there is some portion of the ending that does leave the rest up to your imagination in a sense. And just because that I feel like that has been such a theme in Stranger Things that yes, close off some things, but still keep that level of supernatural and uncertainty and mystery kind of around it. So when he says things like people will have their opinions, look, regardless of what this ending is going to be, people are going to have their opinions, okay? People are going to think they could have written this better. People think they could have executed or directed this better. People are always going to have their opinions. But it is interesting that, they talk about the idea of like, studying other season finales that really worked in people's eyes and kind of taking inspiration from those, because the truth of the matter is just like Lost, just like Sopranos, 20 something years later, people view those things significantly differently. The prequels for Star Wars is a perfect example. People view the prequels significantly different than what they did before. So, I appreciate the idea that they have an ending in mind that they've had for years, that they've rinsed and repeated until they felt like what they got was absolutely right. And the truth of the matter is, whatever it is that Stranger Things winds up giving us here at the finale, in 20 years, it's going to be appreciated or viewed differently. That is just how it is, right? So if you know that that's going to be the case, tell the story that you want to tell. And I don't think that the Duffers are feel swayed by that in any stretch of the imagination. And I think they're getting to tell the story that they want to tell. And that, for me as a fan, is satisfying enough. And I'm going to really look forward to seeing how they execute this. And I'm hoping that it certainly works for them. But they are one of those rare television shows where a lot of people are going to be watching and waiting and maybe cynically hoping that this doesn't stick the landing so they can have those opinions. But I have a feeling that they seemingly have known what they've been wanting to do, especially after season two. Seasons 3 and 4, I think, have continued to get better and better. And I expect that momentum here to certainly continue for season 5. And I expect them to certainly stick the landing. But that's just certainly me. What are your thoughts, final thoughts, as we wrap up this particular article?
Yeah, like if they did, because you brought up a good point. They do love to have that supernatural mystery element to it. And so I could kind of see, even though if they close off everything that's like kind of plot relevant, everything that like kind of is important for the character arcs, I could still see them leaving a couple of loose threads to make it kind of like an open ending, very similar to like how they ended the very first season. Like, even though the first season had some loose threads at the end, I think that if they wanted to end it right there, it would have been perfectly fine as like kind of a one-off, one season type of show. But yeah, so if they wanted to end this show kind of, or this season, or the series I should say, as a whole, like with that kind of open ending, I would totally be down for it. I think honestly it would fit really well with this with the kind of show that we've been, introduced to.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. So we'll see what happens. But I am looking forward to it, man. There's very few shows that I get emotional about. But I feel like this might be one of those shows, just because, like, the comparisons that they've given in regards to this being this generation's Lost, or Game of Thrones. I mean, Stranger Things really sort of kicked off sort of like the concept of a binging season, giving us something new and unique and different that I think just captured the imagination of people. And to be able to sit down and just binge an entire season of the first season of Stranger Things was just unlike anything I've experienced from a television kind of point of view. And I think they've been able to capture that magic. And so we'll see how the finale comes. But I feel like this is going to be one of those rare opportunities where I'm really going to be sad to say goodbye to a show.
Mhm.
Um, with that out of the way, just one more highlight here. The Empire magazine did have a really cool article that talked a little bit about Eleven and where we're going to find her when we get to this season. It says Eleven is powered up in Stranger Things 5. The closest example is the Force, is what they say. It says over the course of the series, Millie Bobby Brown's shaven headed hero has used her mind to flip trucks, interface with interdimensional rifts, communicate with other psyches, and face down the most terrifying beast of the Upside Down. And now she faces her final fight with Vecna in Stranger Things 5. 11 is taking things up another level. Following the events of Stranger Things 4, which teed up an almighty endgame for our heroes in its finale as the boundary between Upside Down and Hawkins disintegrated, 11 has been hard at work. She has been training when we meet her, is what the Duffers tell us. Excuse me. She's not suddenly like Neo or Superman flying through the sky, but she's definitely stronger now. Says just see the exclusive image below where she's leaping over a bus. You can see Brown preparing for the stunt above, also, as you see here in this particular exclusive image. It says, get ready for an 11 who, to borrow some Star Wars terminology, is moving further away from the Padawan status. She has better control over the powers and can use them in more innovative ways, says the Duffer teases. The closest example I'd say is probably the Force. Now, for Millie Bobby Brown, she says the real power of 11 and the rest of Stranger Things beloved characters is in the meaning that they hold for the fans. I think the show's legacy will be the impact it's had on other people, not us. How it has encouraged them to just be themselves. That's everything. That is so special. Friends don't lie. And That's the other exclusive image here. What do you think about that comparison of her? Like for some reason, when I see these images of her training, I think of like Ray and Leia practicing at the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. No, I mean it makes sense because of like the big time. Like I assume we're getting like a decent time jump. Between this and the previous season. Plus, with the stakes being bigger than ever before, it's one of those things where it's like you kind of have to force yourself to adapt to these new situations. Plus, of course, I think one of the biggest factors that they maybe won't admit in an interview is the budget. I feel like the budget is going to allow her to do a lot more than we've been able to see before. Oh, actually, you know what? One more factor. The fact that like most of seasons 1 through 4 has been like her hiding her powers, because she's trying to live a normal life. And now, as we see at the end of season 4, normal lives aren't going to happen anymore for like anyone ever. So, there's no point in trying to, try to pass yourself off as like just, an ordinary human being. It's like at this point, it's like world's coming to an end. You got to go all out, basically.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We got some quick comments here. Blossom says some things are best left to the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the finale. He says there are headcanons for a reason. Talking
Yes.
about the finale for Stranger Things here. Marcelina says it was very annoying that Stranger Things didn't end sooner, with every season coming out every few years, and more so now that the Duffer Brothers wanted it that way. I mean, I'm sure that they like you said, if there was one regret, it's probably the idea of like they wish that they could have accomplished more within that 10-year period. But I do think when they are putting so much of the creative aspect of it on their shoulders, from show running to writing and then directing so many episodes, I'm sure the prep time for that has got to be crazy, especially from a directing kind of point of view as well. But it certainly is what it is. I'm sure, like you said, there definitely some regrets, but I think they said like they wouldn't have it any other way, in the sense of, you don't, it's not every day you get the opportunity to really have this image of what it is like, the amount of creative freedom that these guys have had for this show, and for them to be able to put that on the screen the way that they certainly see fit. I don't know if many people get that opportunity to be as creatively unchained as these two, and so to be able to do it the way that they have definitely earns my respect. But I understand the idea of like, yeah, I definitely wish these seasons came out quicker.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy because I hear, so many conflicting things when it comes to writing for Netflix. I think what it comes down to is that when you have an original IP like Stranger Things, I feel like those are the ones that Netflix allows a lot more like creative freedom to. Same with Squid Games. Like I feel like those are the ones where it's like the writers are allowed to do whatever they want. I think it's like more when it comes to like the IPs of properties that aren't theirs. Like when it comes to, for example, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I wonder if that's where Netflix tends to be a lot more hands-on and tends to like kind of be a lot more pushy as executives. Like, oh, you got to make sure you include this, and that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're right. Um, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, say farewell to Stranger Things. Get your DVRs ready. Is DVR even a thing anymore? Do these things even happen? I don't even know. But get your calendar set for the finale for Stranger Things, dropping, I believe, Thanksgiving. But we'll keep you guys posted on any other developments. With that out of the way, Stuart, let's move on to our next topic. As Marcelino kind of mentions in this, he said, "Look, I always had this theory that Stranger Things would end the same way that it did." And speaking of which, that brings us to our next story, which will in fact be the It television series Welcome to Derry, as we have the return of Pennywise, or at least the return to Derry, as we dive further into the mythos that is the show. This series is dropping like I think this the October 26th. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, this show is getting ready to go ahead and drop. So that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about it just a little bit here, since the series will be on HBO Max next week. Entertainment Weekly had a great breakdown and preview for the show that I wanted us to go ahead and dive into. I may see if I can even do like a rewatch for the first two movies It chapters 1 and 2 before I dive into this. I don't necessarily think it's needed, but it certainly would be fun, I personally think. But let's go ahead and dive into this article here. This comes to us from Entertainment Weekly. I've highlighted some areas that I wanted to go ahead and discuss with you guys. But it says, "Welcome to Derry." They were on the set of the It prequel, tracing the origins of Pennywise and the cursed Maine town. Talking about the origins of it. It says, while their films directed by Andy and produced by Barbara adapted the main events in the 1986 horror novel, there were still all the leftover interludes. Those chapters chronicled adult Mike Hanlon amid his efforts to track down the history of its presence in Derry throughout the decades. Andy Muschietti says the interludes were always on my mind, but being movies, there's a limited canvas to lay out all these ideas. At first, he thought about making another feature film using that material. What if we explored the origin of Pennywise? He recalls in those conversations. How did that happen? That would be a great movie. Back in 1908, when the traveling circus arrived in town, how did it become Pennywise? The plan stalled as the creative team diverged to other projects, but the seed lingered, as if Pennywise itself was luring the Muschiettis back to Derry. Andy considered that Hanlon interludes. Um, Andy considered those Hanlon interludes speculative. The character never came to a definitive conclusion as to why it was there in this specific location. He says it's all pieces of a puzzle. I thought it would be a great idea to grab all those pieces and build the puzzle in front of our audience and engage them in a story that eventually would be more substance to what the movies are. The pitch to HBO, which the network bought on the spot, was a prequel trilogy. In the world that King built, it emerges every 27 years. So it's aligned with the updated timeline of the film. The book begins in the 1950s, while the Muschietti's movies set the scene in the 80s. Season 1 of It takes place 27 years prior, so in 1962. If the show proves successful, preceding seasons will continue to go back every 27 years. Yeah, I kind of dig that idea though, Stuart. How do you feel about that idea?
uh Hard to say, I gotta be honest, because like again, I liked it chapters 1 and 2. I didn't I really liked the first one, didn't really love the second one. So when it comes to the show, I haven't had the most hype for it. So my thoughts on them constantly going back 27 years for each installment, it's really just going to depend on how this first season does, how much I like this first season, and depending on if I even watch this whole first season, is really just going to depend on if that first episode can hook me.
No, I feel you there. There was something in another article that I read somewhere also that talked about the idea of let me see if I can find it in this article. Um, oh, okay. This is from a Deadline article, separate from it, but maybe this will give you some levels of encouragement. It says, while Deadline is a spoiler-free zone, but before the opening credits of the first episode, there is a scene destined to leave a lasting impression. It is both graphic and ingenuous and sums up the tone and ambition of the series. We wanted to raise the bar higher in terms of shock value. It's about a self imposed mandate of opening with an event that is shocking enough that you put the audience in a position where nothing is taken for granted, where nothing is safe in this world. You're immediately putting people on the edge of the seat. We needed a strong opening. One of the things that I love about the scene is the buildup. Of course, it has a big graphic and shocking conclusion, but the buildup is something that is important. So it sounds like if you're looking for something to immediately grab you, um, they may
Sounds
have
like
something
that.
for you.
Yeah, sounds like that opening scene's gonna have something.
Yeah, it sounds for sure. Um, But yeah, guys, check it out. I'm really excited for this. Oh, also going back to the Entertainment Weekly, it's a really long article, so if you guys want to check it out for yourselves, I highly recommend that you do. Um, it talks about the multiverse, the Stephen King multiverse here. It says when it comes to Muschietti's larger plan for this prequel, Derry's role extends well beyond this time period. The town becomes a nexus point that lies at the heart of the larger Stephen King multiverse. The creators have gone on record talking about the show's connection to another of the author's novels, The Dark Tower. While the
Ooh.
while the titular prison of Shawshank Redemption also has a presence. Speaking to the latter, Ryder calls the infamous prison the place that somebody goes that they can't ever come back from. It's kind of like Shutter Island or Robin Island in real life in South Africa. He says one element King's readers will undoubtedly take a particular shine to is Mr. Halloran. The character is more widely known for his involvement in The Shining as the head chief of the haunted Overlook Hotel who comes up with the gift of The Shining, the King's phrase for telepathic and clairvoyant abilities. Um, it says Scatman Crothers portrayed Dick in the uh, Stanley Kubrick's classic 1980s film, followed by Carl Lumbly's performance in Mike Flanagan's Doctor Sleep. He says Dick was briefly mentioned in King's It, which lists him as one of the founders of the Black Spot, who was present during its burning. This inclusion became another springboard for the Muschiettis to imagine what that character's true involvement in those events could have been. The beauty of Dick Halloran is he is not going to die in this show because he's got to get to the Overlook. We already know who he is as an older man, where the shine is more controlled. No one knows this dude at this reference point. I got to create what I thought he was based on what was written. With the Muschiettes, he's discussed how this incarnation of the character isn't the kindest version of himself. He's caught between a rock and a hard place. He's got his own catch 22 situation. He will eviscerate anybody to get what he needs at this stage in his life. Not a lot of connection, not a lot of concern for anyone, children included. Just doesn't care. It's the time period. It's already oppressive enough for Black people. So then a Black dude who can read everybody's mind and see terrible things, forget about it. He's really made he's really made his world very, very, very small. I kind of appreciate the bigger Stephen King connections, Stuart. What about you, though? Is it too much?
No, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't expect them to go like that much. I figure like, usually when it comes to like kind of movies based on Stephen King books, they tend to keep like the connective tissues to be like just simple Easter eggs and things like that. So now actually seeing that they're bringing a character from The Shining into this series, that's incredibly intriguing to me. I had no idea that they were connecting it that much. But yeah, I've always liked how like the Stephen King books are all connected through like a multiverse, and it's like it's a cool way to bring characters, into different properties, but also not have to necessarily worry too much about continuity. Like, because if it's a multiverse, multiple versions that character exists. So if there are certain, like, in fact, I actually would say they probably shouldn't have mentioned that we know he's not going to die because this could be a version of that character that does die for all we know. So it could have added more mystery to the character. But regardless, that is cool that they're bringing him into the series. Like, it does actually get me a little bit more excited, not gonna lie.
Yeah, if anything, I do dig the idea that it's like we know where this guy's story continues. Like there is something just with the connective tissue behind it all. It really does kind of intrigue me in that sense. That's a character that we know from another movie, seeing his early days and what he eventually turns into somewhere down the line. I kind of do dig that, and I think in turn too, it also helps heighten the Shining movie in its own sense by giving us more story, more backstory about a character that we kind of knew a little bit about already. So I really do kind of appreciate what they're doing there in regards to that one. This other aspect of the article from Deadline that I wanted to highlight just a little bit too. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. This one is, it says, it was very exciting to explore what the 60s were in America and what fear was and what kids were afraid of, says Andy Muschietti. It was the Cold War, and kids in school were performing drills in case of nuclear explosion. You can't imagine the state of paranoia. People were asking, is there going to be a nuclear explosion tomorrow? What are we going to do? Will there be people with birth defects? It was very exciting to think of those ripples. With season one yet to drop on streaming, there's no official order or news of subsequent runs, but the Muschietti hopes to welcome people to Derry over several seasons. This is an intentional bigger arc that will open. My intention is that this will create a story that is a little bit like an iceberg under the water all through seasons 1, 2, and 3. There will be an expansion in the mythology and more answers to the big questions. The plan is to go further back in time. The second season will be in 1935. At the end of season 1, we are hinting at the reason why we're going to tell that story in 2 more seasons and kind of go backwards. Um, I am usually a fan of stories like that a little bit. There are some times where stories like that can get a little bit like, my girlfriend hates stories like that. Like my girlfriend hates stories where it's like we get all this mystery and no answer solved whatsoever. And then you gotta wait to the second season to hope that they answer those questions, but then they just give you more questions, no answers, or a little bit of answers, and then they promise season 3 we're going to give you more answers, but then when you get to season 3 it gives you more questions and then never answers any of those questions, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And I'm usually okay with that for a certain period of time, but
Mhm.
after like seasons 2 or 3, I'm just like, okay, you guys are just like, you're just egging me on right now. Like you really have no answers as to how this story is going to end. But consider the fact that this is really just meant to be a trilogy, if you will, a prequel trilogy. So it feels like after season 3 it's very much going to end. I am a fan of lore building and mythology. So that's probably why I like shows that have me ask all these questions and drag me along just to give me little ripples of information here and there, because it just continues to build up this mythology and stuff. So as long as they can answer some freaking questions for me eventually, I will be okay with this concept of how they want to kind of storytell, in a sense of tell the story you have for season 1, add more mystery as to why you then have to answer more questions from the past and go that route. So we'll see if it works out that way. But what do you think, Stuart?
For me, it's the longer you keep me waiting for an answer to a question, the more that the more I'm expecting that answer to be satisfying. Like
Yeah.
if you're gonna keep give me like all this build up, that's fine. But you got to deliver then if you're gonna keep me like if so like here for example they're saying straight up, yeah, we're not even gonna tell you why this is a necessary prequel until you get to season 3. Well, then the big reveal better be big. It better be something that was like, holy crap, it was in front of our face the whole time and we never noticed, you know. That's how I see, the longer you keep us in suspense, the bigger the reveal has to be.
Yeah. No, I
Okay, so like an example of when this is done wrong, so I'm doing like a binge of the Conjuring franchise.
oh yeah.
So I'm currently just and I don't just mean the Conjuring movies. I mean like everything like in that universe. So just finished Conjuring 3 and I thought it was okay, not as good as the first two. I think one of my biggest things that I hated about it is that a lot of scenes like try to build up suspense from something where it's like we know what it's building up to, we just don't know like how it's going to get executed, or we don't know like necessarily maybe something prevents it from happening, but there's so much build up for what's going to be the obvious payoff, and because of that it just makes the overall payoff of like for example we have the character who gets possessed and the scene starts with him thinking that the owner of the apartment complex that they're staying at is attacking his fiance, right? We see that in the beginning, so automatically our brain goes to, oh, he's going to kill the owner of that apartment complex. But they're building up the scene, like the scene is dragging for like at least 3 or 4 minutes, so we're like, maybe it's not, maybe something even more unique is going to happen. But no, it ends the exact way you expect it to, because they tell you how it's going to end. Same with when they find the totem in their house. It's like, you know what they're looking for. And yet when they reveal the totem in their house, it's like they're trying to act like, oh, this is a really big reveal, guys. It's like they drew the scene out of them looking for the totem for like 5 minutes. And then when they find it, they're like, no way. And it's like, but we knew that's what you were looking for. So it's like, that's when I think, like, trying to hold off a big reveal, or just trying to, hold off the payoff, does not work. And that's just scenes. Obviously, this is, I feel like the scale that we're talking about when it comes to seasons is very different, but that's what I hope they don't do. It's like, I hope they don't make the answer super obvious in season 1. And then when they reveal it in season 3, it's like, well, you already told us that in season 1. You already heavily implied it. It wasn't even like it wasn't even subtle.
And so you're talking about Conjuring, the third one, right? Not the most recent one.
Not that was the most recent one.
That was the one that I had the biggest issue with when it comes to the Conjuring series. That one, it felt like it was just it just fell off a little bit for me. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised that I appreciated the last Conjuring movie a little bit better than that one. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head in regards to that. Mm-hmm. But guys, let us know your thoughts. Welcome to Derry, the HBO Max original series, had to go ahead and drop October 26th, coming up right around the corner. What's your level of anticipation and excitement for it? I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts. And with that out of the way, Stuart, let's move on to our next topic of the day. As meet George Jetson and his family. The Jetsons are in the news this week, ladies and gentlemen, because it seems as though we may be getting ourselves a live-action adaptation of this infamous Hanna-Barbera cartoon. I definitely grew up on the Jetsons during the 80s, for sure. I'm trying to think if they've ever done a live-action adaptation in some way, shape, or form. I don't believe so. I do remember the Flintstones getting a couple of live-action films.
Dude, I gotta say, man, I know those people, or at least the first one. I've actually never seen Viva Rock Vegas, but that first movie, everyone gives that movie shit, and I do not understand it. That movie is amazing. Like, I freaking love the live action Flintstones movie, the first one.
Yeah, I was a big fan of it also. The reason why, not only because of the fact that it's getting a live action adaptation, it's in the news, but potential in talks with a big famous actor, and that actor is none other than Jim Carrey himself. That's right, you've heard it here. Jim Carrey is currently in talks to play George Jetson in the upcoming Jetsons live action. Let's go ahead and dive into this article here, Stuart. Where did it go? There we go. Jim Carrey eyes lead role in Jetsons live action. Who should play the rest of the Jetsons? It says Jim Carrey is blasting off to the future. Well, the 1960s version of it, anyway. Jim Carrey is in talks to star in a live action based on the TV animated classic The Jetsons, according to the Wrap. Carrey would play Dad George Jetson, who was voiced by George O'Hanlon on the original series. Colin Trevorrow from Jurassic World is in talks to direct, along with co-write the script. The Jetsons did debut back in 1962 on ABC. Followed George, his wife Jane, daughter Judy, and his son Elroy, as they lived in the futuristic metropolis of Orbit City. The show only lasted 3 seasons, but became a hit as a Saturday morning cartoon staple, running for decades in syndication. The family previously hit the big screen too. I do remember the 1990s animated Jetsons movie. I did see that in theaters. I do believe my uncle or somebody in my family took me to see that. Carrey seems like a great choice to play George. We can already hear him screaming, "Jane, stop this crazy thing!" But who should play the rest of George's family? His boy Elroy, daughter Judy, Jane, his wife. No further casting has been revealed yet, but that doesn't stop us from speculating. They have suggested Elizabeth Banks or Catherine Hahn as great choices to play Jane. But yeah, they want to hear what you guys think. Any suggestions for who should play the rest of the family? But yeah, man, look, it's so funny when this was announced. The first thing I said is like, weirdly, when I look at Jim Carrey, I could see George Jetson. Like, this does not seem like too much of a stretch for me whatsoever. I mean, we just saw him play Dr. Robotnik in Sonic. So if there is like somebody that can really do great with like just um these type of characters and stuff, over the top animated type of characters, um I could just picture him in like a well-designed wig for himself, George Jetson's suit, that clothes that he usually wears, the long lankiness of Jim Carrey. Like, I can literally picture him as George Jetson, and I think this is a fantastic casting choice if this kind of comes to fruition. What do you think, Stu? How do you feel about it?
You know, I think it's a great choice. I just think it would have been better if it was done 10 years ago.
Okay, okay.
Not to be ageist or anything, but it's but yes, I do think that Jim Carrey as George Jetson is kind of the perfect casting choice in terms of like someone who can really kind of bring in the zaniness, but also knows every now and then he knows when to tone it down a little bit, and bring it back down to reality. And I think that like if you're doing a live action Jetsons, like you want it to be fun and over the top, but it's a family movie as well, so you want to also have those wholesome family moments, I think. And I think that Jim Carrey might be the right character to do that. He always does such a great job when he's cast as kind of like the dad role, like in Liar Liar, for example. I thought he was like absolutely amazing in that movie. So seeing him as George Jetson, I think that there's a lot of potential there. I actually didn't watch the Jetsons that much. I watched a lot of the Flintstones, but I don't know. I never I guess there just weren't usually too many reruns of the Jetsons on Cartoon Network like there were with the Flintstones.
Yeah, I because I'm an older head than you are, Stuart. I definitely watched it on reruns and syndication, in the sense that it was always on Saturday mornings for me growing up as a kid. If it wasn't the Jetsons, then it was Flintstones. Woody Woodpecker might have been on, just to age myself even further. But syndicated television was just different back in the day. You could have all these old Hanna-Barbera television shows just on regular Saturday morning cartoons before we started getting things like Fox Kids and all these other really great Saturday morning blocks of children's cartoons. So yeah, I can understand some people not being watching it as a regular, but yeah, it was on all the time for me, which is one of the reasons why I remember going to see the animated movie in theaters. But I think this could be fun. Some of their suggestions of Elizabeth Banks or Catherine Hahn, I think, would be interesting. Catherine Hahn as Jane would be interesting in the sense of like, that I think would tell me the direction in which, like, they like tone wise, they really want to take this. Not that Catherine Hahn can't be serious, but I always look at her as comedic first, and really witty and really clever sort of thing. So I think if somebody like Catherine Hahn was cast as his wife compared to somebody like Elizabeth Banks, I think it would definitely give me a sense of what the tone is that they're trying to capture with that with the movie. If there's any, I think Elroy would be another one that I'm interested in to see who would possibly cast. But I think the one that I'm really more fascinated would be their maid robot. I would want to see who they would get to do the voice work for the robot, if it's going to be CG, or if it's going to be practical. I mean, I think at this point, like, if we can have Herbie as like a practical piece on set for Fantastic Four, there's no reason why we can't have the robot. in some practical form. So I definitely am gonna need somebody to voice her. I don't know why like Leslie Jones comes to mind. I'd be interested to see Leslie Jones' voice coming out of the robot. Um, but I would be interested to see how who they cast in that role.
Yeah, definitely. I hope I would hope they kind of go for someone who is more known for their voice acting instead of their like, on-screen
On
appearances,
screen appearances.
rather than like, because I feel like that's kind of like the common norm with Hollywood movies is they'll cast someone whose name will probably bring in more audiences rather than someone more qualified for when it comes to voice acting. That is usually when it comes to acting, they'll go for who's more qualified. But I feel like when it comes to voice acting, they just go for whatever name will put butts in seats rather than someone who would actually be more qualified for the role.
No, that's true. That's true too. Ram Jam says the animated crossover movie between the Jetsons and the Flintstones was classic back in the day. I don't know if maybe I've watched it once before. I don't know. Um, there are rumors that they were doing a live action Jetson movie back in the 90s, but nothing ever came. It's funny that Jim Carrey contemplated retiring, but I guess he's changed his mind. I'm sure maybe certain scripts probably call out to him more than others. Um, I think they did such a great job with the Flintstones live action for the first one. This is kind of one I really want to see them kind of tackle. The real question is who should voice Rosie the robot? That's what I was just talking about. Like I'm kind of curious as to who. Like to me, that's going to be the casting that I'm more fascinated in, which is kind of crazy to say, but yeah. I think the
Rosie
Jetsons.
O'Donnell voicing Rosie the robot.
I think the Jetsons movie would have done work better if it had come out in the 90s or even 2000s. Maybe there is I will say, Stuart, when you talked about the idea of like um had Jim Carrey been cast in this maybe like 10 years ago, when I heard the announcement, while I did think to myself like, oh man, he would be really great in this role, I did think to myself, I do wish he was a little younger though.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that there is something there, but like we live in a world with great makeup artists and things like that to make them still look great, I'm sure. Um, I did watch both Jetsons and Flintstone returns on Boomerang. Um, and the Jetsons movie actually had a pop star Tiffany voice the daughter.
Ah,
And he says, who would play Mr. Spacely? I'm trying to remember what Mr. Spacely. Mr.
is that the
Spacely.
boss?
That was the boss. Yeah, as a bald-headed little boss. Not bald-headed, but he was definitely going bald. He had a patch of like hair along the back part of his head, but he was going bald on the top with like little Hitler mustache going on, type of thing. Also, maybe if you're lucky, maybe you can get like Danny DeVito to still
Oh my
do
god,
do the
yes.
role.
Oh, that would be like the perfect like fan cast.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Danny DeVito out there. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on who you certainly would like to see cast in a Jetsons live action.
Okay, so even though I haven't watched that much of the Jetsons, there was one line that I know of because my dad used to love it, and I hope they bring this line into the show, which is like George Jetson coming home from work completely exhausted, Jane being like, "Oh, how was work, honey?" and him being like, "Ah, I had to press the button 3 times today."
That's funny. Ram Jim says they need to do the classic theme song. Yeah, it's gotta be
Yes.
classic. I did see somebody speculate. Yeah, somebody. Okay, so I just pulled up Mr. Spacely fan cast to see like other names outside of Danny DeVito. Like for some reason, Danny DeVito is the first person that comes to mind for me. But somebody also suggests Jack Black maybe might be interesting. Somebody did say Peter Dinklage based off of his height, which is kind of fucked up. But Jason Alexander, maybe. Is that from Seinfeld? Right? Is that Jason Alexander from Seinfeld? That might be another good one. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great casting choices out there. But yeah, the one I'm looking forward to the most would be Rosie the Robot. So we'll see who they capture for that. But yeah, let us know your thoughts, guys. And with that out of the way, Stu, let's finally get into some comic book talk today, or comic book movies and television talk today. As our next topic is Jessica Jones is back in the news. Now, guys, we know currently Daredevil Born Again season 2 has wrapped production. It is currently in post production with a release sometime in March of next year for us to look forward to. We do know that Jessica Jones is set to return when it comes to Daredevil Born Again season 2. But where does the character go after that? Is the really big question that we have to ask ourselves. We know that right now, when it comes to Marvel television, they're very open about um, doing television on a yearly basis, not having us wait 2, 3 years for brand new seasons. I think Marvel Television is always looking for brand new content in regards to where does Marvel Studios go from here. And we got a new article here from the Direct that had the opportunity to talk about the potential return of Jessica Jones. Let's go ahead and dive into this article here, Stuart. This comes to us from the Direct. It says the Marvel boss teases new Jessica Jones series coming sooner than you think. We'll see if there's any credence to this, but let's go ahead and dive into this. It says, according to a Marvel TV boss, Brad Winderbaum, a new Jessica Jones series might be on the way. It says, speaking during a recent interview on Phase Hero, Brad Winderbaum teased an imminent return for Jessica Jones beyond Daredevil Born Again Season 2. When asked by the host, Brandon Davis, he says, it's coming maybe sooner than you think. He says, so when's Jessica Jones Born Again? Was the question. And that's where he says, maybe sooner than you think. Kristen Ritter got in on the fun as well when she was propped on what she would want to see from the character next on-screen comic book franchise. There's a lot of stuff I felt there was room to explore, and I'm not going to say any of it because we're going to be doing it, is what she remarked. She says, there's a lot of stuff that I felt that there's room to explore. Brad and I have talked about it, but we're going to be doing it. No new Jessica Jones has officially been announced at Marvel. Still, given the success of Daredevil Born Again, it would not be all that surprising if Ritter's Marvel character got similar treatment. So, Brad seemingly open to the idea, maybe sooner than you think, in regards to what's next for Jessica Jones. And Kristen Ritter herself saying, like, look, there's room to explore. Brad and I have talked about it, and I'm not going to say it because she's under the belief we're going to be doing it. So it seems like projects with Jessica Jones are happening. Whether or not that's the idea of her return to series form or more cameos, who certainly knows. Stuart, how do you feel about this? Would you want a new Jessica Jones series? And if that's the case, um, do you feel then at this point all of the Netflix Marvel television shows should just return, or do you think maybe just Jessica Jones? Like I'm kind of curious how you would feel if she would get her own television series.
I man, I really would have zero interest in like any of the, with the exception of Daredevil, obviously, and probably maybe the Punisher too, because we know we have the Punisher short, which I'm looking forward to. But when it comes to like the other Netflix Marvel characters coming back with a revamp of their shows, I really have no interest in that. I have interest in seeing these characters again. Don't get me wrong. Like I've talked about it on the show before. I would love to, rather than having them renew Luke Cage or Iron Fist, I would just prefer they bring them both back in their own spinoff show, Heroes for Hire. And I kind of feel that way with Jessica Jones. You know, I want to see her again. I don't necessarily want a Jessica Jones series because I feel like they've already kind of told her whole story, like all they really could tell with that character. And you know, we've already seen how like it kind of goes downhill, at least for me anyways, because I really loved season 1. I thought it was actually like freaking incredible. And then I did not like season 2 and 3 of Jessica Jones. I felt like it constantly just went downhill. And so I just because of that, I guess because of that, Jessica Jones left a very sour taste in my mouth, and I just have no interest in seeing it come back as a show. I have a lot of interest in seeing her character and seeing her in other projects. Luke Cage as well. I liked season 2, but I was not a fan of how it ended. So it's like if they brought him back, I wouldn't necessarily want them to continue his show either. I would rather they just, bring him back in a new project. Same with Iron Fist, that's kind of how I feel about all the Netflix characters. I'm not really interested in seeing them come back in their own shows. I'm more interested in seeing them do new projects with those characters.
Yeah, I'm fascinated in the idea of like I'm kind of in your regards because I feel like if we were to do another Jessica Jones series, that it would then kind of set the expectation for other fans to think that like, okay, well, if Jessica Jones is back, here, we got to have Luke Cage series. Luke Cage series deserves to be returned, right? And then the same thing with like Iron Fist. And I just think that there's just so much more room, instead of just giving Jessica Jones her own series. I'm right there with you in the sense, and I think we've spoken about this enough times already, where it's just like, just give me a Heroes for Hire show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think because my thing is, if we get a Jessica Jones series, then people are going to want a Luke Cage and a an Iron Fist series to kind of possibly return. Also, give them a second opportunities. And I think at that point, you start like I think cutting off like the number of television shows that I think Marvel is willing to do at kind of one time, right? Like if we're really talking about the idea that we want to start releasing shows on a yearly basis, again, instead of like these long hiatuses. If you give me a Jessica Jones show and an Iron Fist and then a Luke Cage show, then that's three new Marvel television shows. Like I want something new. Like I want a give me a Nova television series. Give me like a new show that hasn't necessarily been explored when it comes to Marvel television, or characters that we haven't had the opportunity to kind of follow within the MCU. So I just don't want to take up too many slots for brand new and fresh sort of Marvel. I just don't want it to be like the new Marvel television stuff that we get to just be rehashes of old series that we wind up getting. Whereas if at least if you give me a Heroes for Hire, I know that there's some connective tissue and we've got all those characters kind of returning, and those characters can kind of be explored as an ensemble cast. And then give me brand new, fresh characters that have never really been explored on Marvel television. Maybe give me that Ghost Rider series that I've been asking for that was supposed to happen so many years ago that just never gained any traction after Marvel switched things up again. So I don't mind the return of Jessica Jones. It would just be, let's save some room for other characters to still be explored.
Yeah.
Because there was like there were some, I brought up this, I had this image pulled, like Misty Knight. She's a member of Heroes for Hire at some point in time. This was a classic Hero for Hire cover that I read a long time ago, where you've got White Tiger as part of the group. Kit Harrington could come back as Black Knight if he wanted to be a part of the group. I don't know if we would take Hercules here, or even the Incredible Hulk. Maybe that's like past their pay grade, or whatever the case may be. But get a really good opportunity to get characters involved that we've been introduced to before, whether that be from past Netflix series, and integrating a new Marvel television characters like the White Tiger or Black Knight. I think would be really fun also. But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. I'm excited for the return of Jessica Jones. I'm just not necessarily a fan of, I need a solo series from her.
Mm-hmm.
But let us know what you guys think in the comment section box below. Um, let's see here. We got Marceline says maybe give us Jessica Jones as a special presentation. That's actually a pretty cool idea. I would
Yeah.
be open to that. Punisher's doing something like that right now. I would actually be open to something more along those lines. It's funny seeing people. Sorry, I can raise one up. My system's being a little funky right now. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to bring up Tony Robinson's comments. It's funny seeing people praising her return when they were saying she and her series was trash. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I'm trying to remember what past it's easy to like I'm trying to remember like how people received the show when it was first initially introduced. I don't remember how people felt about it. Do you, Stuart?
No, I think I was kind of like, I don't know if I was watching other people's reviews of the show at the time. Like maybe, oh man, what was I watching at the time? Like maybe Emergency Awesome, if I'm not mistaken. I was probably
Oh,
watching his
uh-huh.
videos at the time. I'm not sure if he was covering Jessica Jones back then or not. So yeah, mostly the only people I really talked to about Jessica Jones were, the people watching it with me. So like my now fiance, who is my girlfriend at the time, and then of course like a couple of coworkers at work were also like constantly keeping up with the Marvel shows. And I feel like most of us like kind of had similar thoughts on it. So I think it was like we all really loved season 1, and then I think like we all kind of fell out with season 2, where I think it was like just season 2 and 3 where like kind of Jessica Jones and just most of the characters in general just became very, very unlikable.
Tony also says bring back Misty and Colleen. Yeah, I feel like that would be actually pretty cool to explore. I would love to see more Misty Knight and Colleen, honestly. Marceline says, but a Nova TV show wouldn't work because it's very expensive to show space and sci-fi. Just look at Halo; they had to make a similar character-driven show because they couldn't do battles very epic. Or yeah, a Nova movie would work better because it could show the grand scale of the universe with a big budget. Marcelino also says the actress who plays the niece of White Tiger was spotted with set photos where she made her homemade costume. Well, that'd be legit.
Ooh.
Yeah, give her. She always seems so small and so young in the television series. I was just kind of like, let's allow her to like grow up a little bit before maybe we add her as like an actual superhero. But we've got teenage superheroes out here all the time. So if they can make it work storyline wise, why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe how do you feel about Nova? Do you think Nova would work as a TV series, or do you agree in the sense that the spectacle of it all from the space and the sci-fi point of view might be too big?
I don't think it'd be too big, especially for Marvel, because I think that what Marvel tends to kind of do is just like utilize the budget that they have for like 2 or 3 really expensive episodes, but then have it run by being character driven. I think that as long as you have good writers, you can definitely pull it off. But that's the trick. You got to find the right writers for it, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel. I first think of Nova on the big screen for sure, so I definitely understand where he's coming from there. Um, I don't know. I would have to see. I would definitely give a TV show a shot, but I can understand the idea of wanting to see Nova on the big screen. But let me know your guys' thoughts. How do you feel? Jessica Jones, more of her to come. Do you want her to have her own series? Would you like the idea of a special presentation, or just combine her with the other Netflix heroes and give us something like a Heroes for Hire? Certainly let us know your guys' thoughts. And with that out of the way, Stuart, I will get into another MCU topic here as Wolverine, baby, is back in the news. I don't know if you can. There you go. There it goes. Wolverine is back in the news. Maybe not necessarily. I don't know how to feel about this news, Stuart. And well, let me go ahead and just pull up this article. This is actually coming to us from Superhero Hype, who dives a little bit into the notion of what the future holds for Hugh Jackman um, after Avengers Secret Wars. There's an exciting new rumor that's happening right now. According to it says a beloved superhero franchise may not be saying goodbye just yet. The latest rumor hints that Marvel Studios plans to extend Jackman's run through future MCU projects, marking a surprising new chapter for the iconic mutant after Daredevil and Wolverine. A new industry rumor claiming that Hugh Jackman may continue portraying Wolverine in the MCU beyond Avengers Secret Wars. The update, shared by industry insider Daniel Rickman, who, to be fair, I think is like 50-50 on some of his stuff. I'm not sure. Maybe he's pretty good, but I don't, I don't really listen too much to Daniel Rickman stuff. But I thought this is interesting. Suggests that Marvel Studios plans to include Jackman in more projects even after Secret Wars, despite the studio's ongoing plans to reboot X-Men. Marvel is currently developing a full X-Men reboot directed by Thunderbolts filmmaker Jack Schreier. According to a report, however, a younger version of Wolverine is unlikely to debut soon. The studio may instead keep Jackman active in mentor-like roles as the MCU's multiverse saga continues. Um,
Hmm.
Again, this is just a rumor, so please take this with a grain of salt. But I thought it was one worth talking about here. Stuart, how would you feel about this, man?
God, they really are taking that joke like seriously till you're 90. Like, oh yeah, they weren't joking apparently. Um, I don't know, like, because here's the thing, we're getting a full-on X-Men reboot, and I feel like part of that you kind of want Wolverine to be part of that group, if you're going to reboot the X-Men. But if you keep Hugh Jackman around, like, he's not, I don't imagine him wanting to stay, doing Marvel his whole life. I think it would be a lot smarter, a lot more. I'm also thinking this on a business perspective. Like, if I'm Marvel and I want money, I want to go for an actor who I know is going to have more longevity. Hugh Jackman, I'm sure he loves playing Wolverine, but you're not going to get that much longevity after Avengers Secret Wars. Like, I mean, you know, because the dude's getting, like, again, not to be ageist, the dude's getting old, which means, like, when it comes to certain kind of scenes that you're going to want to have, likely, I doubt he's going to constantly want to dehydrate his body every time he's playing the role of Wolverine. So you're not going to get those great female gaze shots of him shirtless. You're not going to be able to get as much acrobats from him. Yeah, overall, I feel like you just kind of limit yourself if you keep Hugh Jackman around. And then plus when Hugh Jackman does decide to finally retire, you just lost your Wolverine now, pretty much, unless you want to hire another old man to play Logan. So I mean, I don't think it's a terrible idea to keep him around in case they ever want to redo like an old man Logan storyline and he's down to do it. I just don't think it's a smart idea to commit to him as MCU's Wolverine. I think that like after Avengers Secret Wars, you want to take the financially safer route and like actually go for someone younger to play Wolverine, someone who's, willing to stick around for like the next 10 years. So it's obviously it's not going to bother me, obviously, because I love Hugh Jackman. I love seeing him, so I don't mind for me personally if they decide to keep him as Wolverine after Avengers Secret Wars. I just think like from a business point of view, financially, it would be a smarter investment to go for a younger actor, to go for someone new, someone who can, stick around for again, longevity is what I would go for.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I wonder if it's a case of like they just know how great he is in this role and they just can't quit the man. And they just feel like the idea of recasting him, there's just nobody else that's ever gonna top that. And so they're just like, we just can't recast it. Like, and I just find that pretty absurd. I'm sure this man doesn't want to continue to play this role forever, although I mean he seems okay to it. But you're right, the idea of like, dude, do you want to keep putting yourself through that over and over and over again? I just think it's bad. Now look, I've been very vocal in regards to I think Daphne Keene has proven herself more than ready to take on a new Wolverine role if they ever wanted to reboot it and allow her to become the Wolverine or X-23 in her own right to be the Wolverine of a new X-Men team. Um, but I'm sure that that would probably get some pushback also in the sense of no, we just want a traditional Wolverine. And if they just want a traditional Wolverine, I would be okay with that also. I just don't want Hugh Jackman back. Look, man, I all the praises in the world. Like, thank you for your service. Like, you have done more than anybody has ever asked of you in regards to portraying this role. I was actually kind of surprised, to be fair with you, that like at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine that he like stuck around. I thought they made it
Mhm.
was going to kill him off at the end of that movie, but I get the idea of wanting to see him return for things like Doomsday or at least Secret Wars. But if we're bringing back all these X-Men um for like one final hurrah, I think that should also include Hugh Jackman. Now, what's fascinating too about the comic books, one of the things that has been interesting to me is that, like, in the comic books, uh, Wolverine has sort of stood the test of time, if you will, in regards to like travel through different timelines, or has had like his presence in other timelines as well. And so, him having this longevity in regards to him being a character, I can see the idea of why maybe they would keep Hugh Jackman because it would kind of fit in role with his comic book persona a little bit also. But I just think that we've utilized this Wolverine for all that we can at this point, and I'm just ready for something fresh and new and different, and for somebody else to kind of get an opportunity. Stop going to the well, even though it has certainly worked for you in the past. I know people love Hugh Jackman, but at some point in time, like we gotta move on, man. We gotta move on. And if Kevin Feige and them have talked about the idea that they're open to recasting characters like an Iron Man and a Captain America when a reboot or a resetting kind of happens, then I think that they should be open to the idea of doing that with Hugh Jackman as well. Um, so we'll see what happens here. Again, this is just a grain of salt, right? This is some from an inside internet insider who necessarily isn't 100% right all the time. So it should be taken with a grain of salt. But I just think that this would be a big mistake. I get the idea of having him as a mentor role, but I still want a Charles Xavier. I still want a Magneto. Like, I still want these other people that have led the X-Men to have these roles and not necessarily um, Hugh Jackman again. I think he's served this time personally.
Yeah, agreed.
But let's know your guys' thoughts. Tony Robbins says, I think Daphne King and Deadpool would be the only actors that come back for a new universe going forth for X-Men. I would be open to that. Plus, it would be creepy to see Wolverine eyeing a young Jean Grey if they went that Archie love triangle with
Yes.
Jean and Scott. Yeah, just
It
a
was
little bit.
it was already kind of weird when they did that in X-Men Apocalypse. They kind of implied like Wolverine having feelings for her, and it was like, man, she's played by a really young actress this time, dude.
Yeah, like just leave it alone. Leave it alone. But yeah, I agree with you both. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And Stuart, this will bring us to our last topic of the day. Um, this is a story that like just won't go away. And it's one that I'm always up for talking about, even though I think we already know what the answer to this question is. But Batgirl is back in the news. That's right. Remember that Batgirl that was played by Leslie Grace, and that villain Firefly that was played by Brandon Fraser, that was filmed. and I think completed or at least deep into post production. And then they said, you know what, this movie unreleasable, unreleasable. Found itself in the time period of the DCEU where they were trying to gain new footing, hoping that the Flash, with the return of Michael Keaton, would give them sort of new life in regards to starting the DCEU anew. We even had Michael Keaton film himself as Batman in this Batgirl movie. Um, well, the concept of this movie is back, Stuart, as one of the actors from Batgirl is actually hoping and praying that this movie still gets released somehow. Let's go ahead and dive into this article, man. Comes for us from the Direct. DC's canceled Batgirl movie could release on one condition, says star Jacob Sapio. Let's see what he's saying in here. One actor from the canceled Batgirl movie still feels it could see the light of day if one condition is met. Batgirl star Jacob Sapio recently addressed Warner Brothers' cancellation of the scrap DC movie and spoke on how it could potentially be released. In a conversation with the Direct, Scipio described Batgirl as a phenomenal film after getting to see it, while expressing how sad he was that the world never got to see it. However, he offered a you never know thought. He says, I got the chance to watch it, and it was a phenomenal film. Man, I'm really sad that the world would never get to see it. But you never know. You never know. He says, it was great that they saved Coyote versus Acme. I'm going to have a ticket and buy my ticket and see that movie myself. So there's always hope. Hollywood's a funny place. And I think if enough people want it, it can happen. It's official, Stuart. Release the Batgirl cut. Release the Batgirl movie. So he thinks if enough people want it, it can certainly happen. Now, the article does go on to say, could Batgirl ever be released? Fan cries for Batgirl to be released flooded the internet after they unceremoniously canceled the film's first release, particularly when it was so close to being finished. Simu Liu was one of the many to slam Warner Brothers for the decision, and others were not nearly as kind in criticizing the studio for taking the film off its release slate. Unfortunately, after Warner Brothers canceled the film to take a tax write-off, the studio has not made any mention of plan to release Batgirl to the public. The company even went so far as to block the directors from accessing the movie's production server immediately following the cancellation, making it clear that they did not want any material to come to light. Stuart, one of the things I've always been fascinated by this, Stuart, is I've always wondered, like, I feel like everybody that's been attached to this movie has been disappointed and say it's phenomenal or it was a great film or they really missed out on something. The directors for this movie were from the Bad Boys directors that went on to make at least one great Bad Boy film. I don't know how the most recent Bad Boy film was, but they received high praise for what they were doing at the time when it comes to this movie. So I am interested as to what this movie could have been. But I am curious, do you think this movie ever sees the light of day? Is there a chance that this movie ever releases, despite how some fans have asked for it and the people involved have certainly asked for it? What do you think?
I don't think so. But I don't know, because I don't know of any cases where something like this has happened where it was a movie that was scrapped specifically for a tax write-off. And if that has ever happened in the past, has that movie ever been released afterwards? Yeah, it's something that, like, I've been very vocal. I think, like, scrapping the movie was one of the worst, like, decisions you could have made as an executive or as a producer. I was very disappointed, not because I thought this movie was going to be amazing, but I mean, because it's a movie that many people worked on, that a lot of people put a lot of their, work into. And yes, they got paid for it. It was a job at the end of the day. They got paid for it, but, it just, I don't know. Like as someone who loves to write, I think that the idea of like doing all that and then having the studio like tell you, yeah, we're not going to release this movie in theaters, and then on top of that, the way they talk about it, but the way they phrase it by saying it's unreleasable, it puts a bad label on you now as the person who worked on it. Whether you say it's unreleasable because it's bad or because like it just didn't work for a streaming service film, like they kind of try to clarify later, it still sucks because now they have that label on themselves as, oh, you're the guys that made that movie that was unreleasable. Now we don't want to hire you for our next project. So many things about why I think that what they did was absolutely just messed up, and I think that we need to relook at like a way our legal system works if we're allowing like companies to just make easy money like this, billionaires to just be like, I invested this much money but I'm not going to make it back. Hey, government, can you reimburse me? That's I think that it just is such a flawed system if we allow that to happen. So yeah, I hope we see it. I hope it gets the light of day, but as of now, I don't know enough about like how it works, how like the legal issues around it, because I remember them constantly making statements before saying that they legally cannot show it to us, or else they lose the money from that tax write off, or else they could get fined from the government. So as far as I know, as of now, it's an impossibility. But I really, I say this a lot. When I really want to be proven wrong, this is one of those cases I really, really hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think something tells me Coyote v. Acme was also a tax write-off, but I think the difference is that they allowed the directors to still have some sort of connection to it, so that they were, I think their production company or something like that was able to then maybe purchase the rights from it, and then now are distributing it themselves. So, whereas in this case, I think they shut out the directors completely to where they didn't have any of the stuff that they produced or created, and Warner Brothers held on to all of it. So I don't think it's a case of like, even though you use it as a tax write-off, that somebody can then purchase the rights from you and release it. So I really don't know. I really don't know. I'm like you in the sense of the legal jargon has me all effed up right now. But I think that Coyote v. Acme was a little bit different in regards to why that might have been able to be released compared to maybe this. Look, I like you am bummed that they put all this money and effort into it and it's not getting released after so many people worked on it. One of the things that I always really enjoyed was getting the opportunity to see the set photos. I remember when this movie was in production, how involved they were in regards to allowing us to see like the reveals of stuff behind the scenes, the cool like promotional photos that they wind up taking and things like that from behind the scenes. There was even like one aspect of it where you got the opportunity to see that they when they were on the set for Gotham City, you can see like there was like a mural that they even designed to imply that at some point in time, Batman had a sidekick, or that there was a Robin kind of in this world, and it just added more to the lore about what this world could potentially be. Batgirl's involvement in the idea that we were kind of going back to the Michael Keaton Batman role of things here, and it's just really unfortunate that this stuff doesn't get the opportunity to see the light of day anymore. Whether or not this movie would have been good, who certainly knows. I do hope that one day we do get the opportunity to see this movie, though. I'm not holding my breath, um, because I think there's more of a chance of it never happening than there is a potential of it happening. But I am one of those people that would certainly support the idea of this release. I just think that this movie had so many things going against it, right? Like the failure that was the Flash movie in regards to box office, and the stink that was on that type of movie, I think really undercut this. And then I also think maybe the switching of management at the time might have really hindered it, in the sense of, that DCEU was sort of so unrecoverable that when they talk about Batgirl, they felt like it was going to do more harm than good to it. And that could just be the case of like, if we just continue to release these movies, the box office is just going to keep dwindling and dwindling. And it's just really going to hurt sort of like our financial end of things. So maybe when they say it's unreleasable, there's a part of me that thinks it maybe wasn't necessarily so much the quality as it was going to be what's the financial kickback for us, and maybe it just didn't pay them to release it and put more money into it when they were able to clearly see the trajectory of their DCEU movies at the box office just not making any money whatsoever. But again, this might have been something that was supposed to be on streaming services, so maybe you could have gotten away with that then.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling that at that point they were just ready to move on to something else, and just didn't want this to ever come out to then either cause more confusion or dilute what they could potentially do with bringing somebody in like James Gunn to then do and create new movies. And as far as like if it were released today, how would that work? I don't even know. I mean, the DCEU is in like full swing right now. Would you ever want to release this? Would it confuse fans? Would people think that this was part of the DCU kind of going forward? Could you make this? Well, I guess you couldn't make this part of the DCU because Michael Keaton is certainly in it. But yeah, I don't see this ever happening, unfortunately. But I certainly would be open to it, Stuart.
Yeah, James Gunn himself kind of said like he like I think if I'm like betting man, if I do believe that if it were up to James Gunn, he would release the movie on HBO Max, labeling it as an Elseworlds storyline. Because I've listened to basically every podcast that he's done from the Peacemaker series, and what he talks about often, I actually almost felt kind of called out here. He's like, yeah, I listened to all these like comic book like reviewers or comic book content creators on YouTube, and they all seem to think that general audiences are too dumb to know the difference between an Elseworld storyline and a canon storyline, basically for when it comes to the upcoming DC universe. And he's like, I'm not worried about that because they won't shut up about it, and therefore any casual audience members that are just like watching the movie will probably hear about it from them if there is any confusion. More than likely they won't even care about canon if they're just watching these movies casually, and the ones that do care about canon will hear it from their friends that do keep up with this news. And so because of that, I do think that if James Gunn had the option, he would release it on the website. I could be wrong. For all I know, maybe James Gunn was the one who convinced David Zaslav to cut the film. We don't know. I'm going completely just off of like the way he presents himself in his interviews. So for me, like as of now, I think that if there was a miracle where they were able to release it, I don't think it would tarnish the DC brand at all, and I don't think it would confuse audiences at all. I think people would look at it as its own thing, its own completely separate storyline that just takes place in Gotham City, very much like, the Batwoman TV show, very much like Gotham Knights and Birds of Prey. All of them take place in Gotham City. None of them are connected, none of them are part of like any bigger, larger, well, actually Batwoman's part of the Arrowverse, but you know what I mean? None of them are part of any currently running like a bigger universe. And I think audiences are smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. But yeah, we'll see, man. I don't think this is ever happening. I'll keep my fingers crossed one day that it does, but until then, we'll just have to see. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. I really don't have any control on my end right now, Stuart. My internet on my other side is kind of shut down.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I may need you to help us move us into the next portion of the show, if that's cool with you. If you can throw up that live viewer questions and then maybe bring up the live viewer questions on your end if you can.
Of course.
Until I can get my stuff set up.
Here we go. Now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
There was one other excuse me. There was one other thing I was gonna do for Batgirl, but because my internet's not working, it's a little bit tragic, to be honest with you. I'm not going to be able to show what I wanted to show some people.
Did you ever
If
see the Corridor? What do they call Corridor Crew? They made like this hilarious Batgirl trailer using basically all the footage that they could gather, and then using body doubles to like fill in the gaps, and then they end it with it turns out the Firefly is actually working with the Warner Brothers, and so you get like these two people coming in with flamethrowers. They're like, "We're the Warner Brothers, and you are a tax write-off."
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I got no internet connection right now, so I don't know what happened. So Spectrum, ladies and gentlemen, boo Spectrum.
Here we go. Let's do newest first. What I meant to do. There we go. All right. All right. Greg Aaronwitz, the director, writer, and producer of SPD, one time said at Power Morphicon that his original plan for SPD/Dino Thunder was to have the Dino Thunder Rangers be clones of the original. He said the reason for this decision was to add more tension since the clones would die at the end, and that this would be their only this would be their only chance to do something with their short lives, and that time travel would be too cliche, and he wanted to challenge himself as a writer. Disney forced him to change it because they were afraid that kids wouldn't understand what cloning is, because there definitely haven't been kids shows with cloning before. That's totally a unique concept, and that kids wouldn't like it because they wouldn't be the actual characters, but rather a fake version of the characters they love. And just told him to use time travel. When he told the fans he wanted to originally incorporate, fans sided with Disney and hated his idea. The fans' reasoning is that they would have hated if it was just clones and not the originals. What are you? What about? What about you? Do you have similar thoughts? For me, I would say that I'm kind of going to side with Disney on this as well. The whole point of crossovers is to see where our characters started off and where they've been, to see the kind of chemistry they have with our new characters. So I think that if you did clones, that would just kind of take away from it, and would just, the only purpose of it would be who would win the fight, this team or this team. And I just don't think that's quite as interesting. I applaud him for not wanting that to be the motivation of writing that crossover. But at the same time, it just, to me, it wouldn't have been as interesting.
I'm sorry, I missed like that whole first question, so I'm glad you answered it. I was trying to get my internet back up and running. So thank you for answering that question, Stuart. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
What's the next one?
Oh boy, another Acolyte one. Here's what people say the Acolyte should have been. Instead of live action, mediocre TV, it should have been animated series that runs concurrently with the High Republic books. Not only would animation have given them more creative freedom on... sorry, I need to zoom in because my eyes are just... Oh, wait, that's too much. There we go. Okay, cool. Not only would this would animation give more creative freedom on what they can show, but it would be wise to replicate the Clone Wars formula, since so many people grew up with the Clone Wars, and an animated show would have been a better way of introducing and showcasing High Republic era. Instead, we have what many call the butt of the franchise that destroyed the entire era of Star Wars, because no one is going to want to read the High Republic books after seeing how bad the Acolyte was. Actually, I do think a High Republic animated show, which technically we have, but it's definitely for a very, very, very young audience. But I actually think that's like not a bad idea. I think that actually would have a lot of potential, especially if they gave it that Clone Wars art style. Like one thing I remember a lot of people complaining about with the Acolyte, which I definitely kind of agree with, is like when it came to Coruscant, specifically when it came to the Jedi Temple, it just felt so small, like compared to like how we've seen it in the prequels. And I don't know, because like I know it's not specifically budget because the Acolyte had like a really big budget and all that kind of stuff, but I wonder if it was just because the studios they were using were like very limited on space, or if there were still some restrictions on how many people they could have in a room at a time. So I think that if they made it animated, then it, that wouldn't have been a concern at all. You could have just reused the assets that you've already used in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and just kind of retooled it to make it look, maybe shinier, because I imagine, it's 500 years ago, so it probably would look slightly newer. But yeah, like I kind of agree with that. I think that like not necessarily that the Acolyte itself should have been animated, but that a High Republic animated show, I think that would actually have worked.
Yeah, I still think a High Republic animated show could work if they don't want to touch it. Live action wise, I do think animation is certainly a way to go. I was kind of surprised that they wanted to even tackle the High Republic, but to be fair, where they're tackling the High Republic is like at the far tail end of the High Republic, about to go into sort of like the next era, right? So like when I think of the Acolyte, I don't necessarily view it so much as a High Republic era sort of television show, just because all the novels and stuff that take place are like 100 years even before that, before any of that stuff even happened. So for me at least, somebody that reads the novels compared to that feels a little bit disconnected in that way. And I don't necessarily think it will hurt or destroy that entire era whatsoever. And I only say that because they're still making novels about it. They're not only like the High Republic books from the time era that they focused on originally, but they're also making High Republic books that focus on these characters. Like Vanestra Rowe, that we see her older version, she's getting a novel. The Daphne Keene character and the other younger or other Jedi Padawan that was her friend, or Jedi Knight that was her friend, they're getting a novel too. So, I do think that it's important to understand that like these are two different mediums. Just because of the fact that the live action version of an era didn't necessarily work doesn't mean that you completely abandon it. The High Republic series itself has had like three New York bestseller novels. I don't know how well the the um the sales have been overall for the entirety of the franchise in regards to its novels, but they're pretty good stuff. And if people want to, enjoy it, they certainly can. But I do think because of the fact that these stories take place hundreds of years apart from each other, I do think that um, I do think that there is plenty to certainly still enjoy regardless. I don't think one failed project absolutely ruins an era. I think there's plenty of opportunity to still inject new life in it. And I think by releasing more novels in that era, and maybe going the route of animated might actually be a good idea, because I don't see them doing anything in regards to live action again for a really long time. Um, Marceline says, but the Acolyte is High Republic era, Adam. It's just a fact. I'm not debating that. I'm not debating that at all. I agree with you. It is part of that era. I'm just simply stating the time period in which the live action series takes place. In no point in time, um, to me, it just doesn't even practically even feel connected. And I say that because one of the main characters of Vernestra Rowe, where she finds herself at the end of the High Republic phases that just ended, like, don't even necessarily connect to the version of her that we see yet, right? So there's plenty more story to certainly be told. It's just unfortunate that the tail end of the High Republic had to get that shine. Whereas if we jump into the novels that are really focused, it's like it's night and day to me, to be quite frank with you. So I don't think it's ruined the High Republic, but I do think maybe something else might inject some more life into it.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. Oh, sorry.
oh no, it's okay. Um, I was able to bring up the live viewer questions, so I'll finish those if you want.
Oh, cool, cool,
Um,
cool.
Greta Gerwig, Narnia has garnered some attention and even a bit of controversy with being described as being the rock and roll and how Meryl Streep is cast as Aslan. I have a theory on what this Narnia movie could look like. The Narnia books are known for their Christian themes. I think this is going to operate similar to his Dark Materials, where it's going to critique Christianity and how religious zealots can harm people and cause corruption. Greta Gerwig made Barbie, which was a feminist movie. Aslan, being voiced by a woman, supports this theory, and punk rock was known for protesting against capitalism and fascism. And while punk rock and roll are completely different, the concept is still there. Your thoughts? I kind of dig it. I kind of dig that concept, especially with how Christianity as a whole, like you said, I think has always been utilized and twisted and corrupted in a sense for people like capitalism and in fascism to use that as sort of leverage um, um, to get believers to believe that what they're doing is godlike or is of Christian values, when in reality it's kind of distorted. So and it's still used like that today, clearly.
Mhm.
And so the idea of Greta possibly taking Chronicles of Narnia to critique Christianity a little bit or break it down in that sense, I do find that kind of fascinating.
Yeah, to quote Jesus in the most recent South Park episode, some people just need a way to bully others, and they use Christianity. They use Christianity as a way to do it.
Yes, very, very true. Very true. Um, but thank you for the questions, Marcelino. I appreciate it. Since we have to wait another, Bliss is from Blossom. Since we have to wait another year for X-Men 97, what expectations do you guys have for it? Um, I don't know how I mean, I don't know what my expectations are for it. Maybe they're kind of high just because of where X-Men 97 season 1 left us off at. Um, I guess my only expectation is I hope that they continue to not pull punches,
Mhm.
and be very real and raw with the messages that they're certainly trying to say. You know, sometimes I do think messages can be diluted a little bit, maybe especially when it comes to Marvel animation or just Marvel in general. You know, are they still willing to swing those punches, or do they feel like, okay, we had our message with season 1, maybe some people felt some type of way because maybe some of the messaging was a little bit too on the nose. Let's maybe dial it back a little bit, give them more action, some cool effects and animation, and not have as intentional of storytelling as season 1 had. I think that would be a really big mistake, but my expectation is I'm hoping that they keep that same momentum despite the rewrites and things like that. I hope Marvel sticks to their guns and remembers what the X-Men represent.
Yeah, I would say I'm expecting it to continue to be intense and not pull any punches. I'm hoping that the writing quality stays as good as it was, without the same showrunner.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking since the TMNT had a crossover with Power Rangers before, what other crossovers would you like to see the Turtles have? Speaking of Turtles, which generation do you guys like best? 2003, and 2012. I like them. Plus, I'm getting into the 1980s one.
Nice. Yeah, no, I gotta be honest. I would watch reruns of the 80s cartoons on like what was it called? It wasn't Boomerang. but there was another channel I used to watch that would do like reruns. Maybe it was Boomerang, but they did reruns of like all the classic 80s action cartoons. Like they did a lot of GI Joe, they did a lot of Transformers. This was like going on when I was in middle school, and I cannot remember for the life of me what the channel name was. Yeah, I watched a little bit of the 80s Ninja Turtles through that, but I actually never got into the 2000, and even though I was watching Cartoon Network at the time, I never got into the 2003 Ninja Turtles show. And then by the time the 2012 show came out, I was kind of just done with Nickelodeon at the time, and plus like the art style, I know from people who have watched it, they say that it actually does get really good. But just the art style from what I had seen in the previews for it did not look appealing to me at all. The art style and the animation. So I didn't even bother with the 2012. And again, that I hear later on, it's kind of like with me with Digimon Tamers. I never watched it. It did not look like it was up my alley. But then I hear people talking about it years later and like, are you kidding me? You slept on this? This show was amazing. Yeah, so maybe I'll get around to checking it out at some point in the future. But yeah, for me, I guess even though I wasn't even born at the time, I guess you could say the 80s Ninja Turtles are probably my turtles. But my favorite Ninja Turtles of all time, though, are the original live action 1990 Ninja Turtles. That I think is like the perfect balance of like the dark, gritty comic books, but with the colorful personalities of the 80s cartoons. I think that first Ninja Turtles movie is just a perfect film, honestly. I'm gonna take that take to my grave. The 1990 Ninja Turtles movie is a perfect film.
Oh, the original one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really great. Yeah, I guess if I had to pick, look, I was, the 87 TMNT is probably always going to be my favorite. I do like this current iteration of TMNT from the Mutant Mayhem world that we've had. I'm actually quite fond of them. But like you, the animation styles for 23 and 2003 and 2012, I wasn't necessarily too fond of, so I never really watched them to really have an opinion on any of those seasons. Although I think that probably the most recent, was the most recent run on Nickelodeon the 2012 one prior to Mutant Mayhem?
Yeah, I think they had one more 2D animated show that happened like back in like 2016, but like that didn't last very long from what I remember. So 2012 was like the last long running Ninja Turtle show. Until this new one, obviously.
Yeah, because I thought that there was one that was on Nickelodeon that style wise I was a fan of. I remember my friend Jonathan speaking pretty highly of
Was
it.
it Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Maybe.
I think because yeah, that one. What I thought was cool about it, again, never watched that one, but I like how they like all the turtles in that version had a completely different design in terms of like their size and shapes. So like you could actually like if you were to look at them like with like just a black shadow over all of them, you could still pick out which turtle was which.
Yeah, maybe it was Rise of the TMNT series. Yeah, Rise of the TMNT. Was that no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember it off the top of my head. My internet's acting too janky right now for me to even pull up the image. But anyway, as far as crossovers, I don't know. Have they ever teamed up with Scooby Doo or Thundercats? I would be up for any of those.
I'd definitely be down for a Scooby-Doo Ninja Turtles crossover. How has that not happened? So I'd be down for that. I would really be down for oh god, I just thought of something. Oh yeah, I would even though I watched like a tiny bit of it, but I never got into Naruto. I think that like a Ninja Turtles Naruto crossover would be kind of epic.
I think they have one.
Oh wait, really?
In the comics, yeah, they got a TMNT and Naruto comic book crossover. Yep.
Oh, that's hella cool. Okay, I might have to check that out now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then have they done I guess like lastly, I guess have they done a G.I. Joe crossover? Yeah,
I don't think
mind
so.
think alike.
I don't think so.
Because that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's 2024. It was a 4-issue miniseries run. Um, IDW Publishing and Viz Media, the American publisher of Naruto manga. So yeah, they did have a 4-issue miniseries of Naruto and TMNT back in 2024.
Ah, that's hella cool. I gotta check this out now.
But yeah, let's see here. Marky Parko, despite some criticisms regarding an overabundance of celebrity cameos, including real life professional golfers and Gen Z cater celebrities in the Maxi League tournament, the direct sequel, Happy Gilmore 2, was a fun film that deeply honored the original and Adam Sandler's filmography. The movie set up the sequel with a montage that included the death of Gilmore's wife, although the character and actress appeared in dream sequences to aid his recovery. Meanwhile, Sandler's real life wife, Jackie Sandler, played his daughter's dance instructor, and his real life daughter, Sunny Sandler, played his on screen daughter. Clever Easter eggs and character parallels were sprinkled throughout, such as Bad Bunny's supporting role as Gilmore's new caddy, a clear homage to John Turturro's character, Emilio Lopez, in Mr. Deeds, and the introduction of adult sons of characters played by late actors from the original, giving their stories new life. A more subtle tribute, which many fans missed, occurred when Gilmore returned to golf for the first time. A TV next to him showed an episode of the Disney Channel's Jessie featuring the late Cameron Boyce, who had
Oh,
played Sandler's son in the grown up films. Given the film's effort to both embrace modern culture with Gen Z focused elements and meticulously honor his past work and fallen coasters, how successfully did Adam Sandler manage to balance catering to both longtime fans and a new generation of viewers? Did you watch Happy Gilmore too?
I haven't, but I kind of want to watch it now. You know, the way he describes the opening, it kind of seems similar to Clerks 3. So I am very
Uh-huh.
curious.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, so I can't really give a fair assessment of how he balanced it out. But Adam Sandler always got Easter eggs or like cameos from people constantly from all of his past work. He's always given his buddies work for sure. But I'll have to see how this one went.
I do like that he gives a tribute though to Cameron Boyce because my little brother Tavion, I cannot remember for the life of me what the show was called, but there was a show on Disney Channel that he used to. Maybe it was actually. Maybe it was Jesse. I'm not sure, but regardless, he used to love like specifically Cameron's character in the show.
Oh, okay.
So he was really sad when the actor passed away.
Peg C, what are your thoughts on Jim Carrey and talks to play George Jetson live action? I'm all for it, but I think Stuart and I may be in the same realm after he said maybe it's an age thing. But I'm for it. I think he captures the character really well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I asked this question before in this what if scenario. If Tommy never lost his Green Ranger powers and we had a Green Ranger and the White Ranger on the same team in the show, who do you think would have been the White Ranger?
Oh, it would have oh god, what was his name? Uh he was kind of a red herring because I think they were trying to hint that this guy was going to become the White Ranger, but it was he was a love interest, I believe, for Trini. And I cannot for the
Oh,
life of me remember his name, but he was a very minor character in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I believe he would have been the White Ranger, mostly because like they kind of like used him, I think, as a red herring to make us think that he was the best possibility. So I think that's who it would have gone to.
Richie?
Richie, I think so. Yes, I think Richie
Uh,
would have gotten it.
man, I don't even remember who Richie was. Let me see if they can. I get a hey Google. Can you give me an image, brother, of Richie? Oh, I see Richie. Okay, handsome fella. Yeah, I can totally see him having been like, especially teasing him. I can definitely see that as him being the White Ranger for sure. Um, I think Jason was gone by then, so Jason would have been cool to return finally. But I kind of like Jason back as Zeo Gold personally. So I don't know what route they would have gone. I think Richie is a great option though.
Ooh,
I wouldn't have seen that.
Honorable mention though, definitely to his what was his
His
brother's name
brother,
in the
right?
show? Yeah, he
His
had a
brother
brother
was
in the
kind of
show.
teased. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
his brother was teased to be it for a while, and that never came to fruition. So I think for me, I was gonna think it was gonna be JDF's brother, but yeah, I do like Richie. I can see that. What do you think of the confirmed roster of season 2 for X-Men 97? Returning members Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Wolverine, along with new additions such as Sunspot, Psylocke, and Danger, plus iconic villains like Apocalypse and Sabretooth. Sabretooth, I'm here for. The
Mhm.
season will also feature characters like Magneto, Rogue, Beast, Storm, Nightcrawler, Bishop, and Forge. Um, so yeah, confirmed characters in season 2. Oh, I do see Colossus was supposed to, new edition, Sunspot, Polaris, Psylocke, Colossus, Cable, Danger, and Archangel. I think some of those were kind of showcased in the brand new trailer, honestly.
I know that with
Um,
Archangel, like he wasn't in the show, but he was one of the characters that um the morphing dude.
Morph.
Morph, yeah. I think, but Archangel was one of the characters that Morph
Characters.
was transformed into during one of the fight scenes because I actually got confused for a moment. I'm like, wait, what? Archangel? And then realized immediately afterwards, oh, wait, nope, that's not him.
Yeah, I'm probably really fascinated in Polaris along with Colossus. I want to see those two even more, and I think I'm fascinated in Sunspot's story too. I want to see how he's grown after his parents have kind of like shunned him really for being a mutant and realized like they've kind of used him as being a mutant to help support them in a way or like get some sort of like sympathy from people or whatever. I can't remember how they utilized his ass, but like the truth of finding out about how your parents really feel about you as a mutant. I kind of want to see his journey in season 2.
Like that was one of the fastest 180s I've ever had,
Bro.
like emotionally, because I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. She accepts him. And then immediately afterwards, you just have to make sure you keep it hidden from the public. I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Brutal shit, man. Brutal. What were your initial thoughts? Jack Nicholas portraying the Joker in the '89 Batman movie and Chris O'Donnell playing Robin in Batman Forever. You know, oh, go ahead, Stuart.
I love Jack Nicholson's Joker. I
Yeah, I
love it.
really do. I love it too.
Chris O'Donnell, okay, he wasn't bad in Batman Forever, but oh my god, and it's not just his acting, that would be so unfair, but as funny as Batman and Robin is, I like Batman and Robin because to me, I just watch it as a comedy, I just don't take it seriously. At the same time, I still can't deny that every time Robin talks, I just want to punch him so much every time he opens his mouth.
You know what's interesting? Like, I agree with you. I love Jack Nicholson as the Joker. He was just so like to just embrace that role as much as he did was just brilliant to me. You know, he's just yeah, Jack Nicholson's incredible. You know, Chris O'Donnell. I loved Chris O'Donnell as Robin, and looking back on it, I think I only loved him because of the fact that we had a Robin in live action. Like I think
Yeah.
as a kid, I was just so happy to see Robin on the big screen. They could have given me anybody, and I would have been like, "He's the best Robin ever." Like Chris O'Donnell's claim to fame is him being Robin. And anytime I see Chris O'Donnell, I think he was on like a CSI show for a while or some one of those shows for a really long period of time. I watched it because of Chris O'Donnell, because of the fact that he was my Robin growing up. So it's just really a nostalgic factor of being happy that a Robin was even in a movie that I was just like, I love you, Chris O'Donnell. Like it could have been anybody, to be quite frank with you, but just the fact that he was Robin gave him a pass for me. But yeah, when I look back on it, I'm like, yeesh, yeesh.
But yeah, like I said though, like to his credit though, I didn't think he was bad in Batman Forever. So I think the only reason I hated him in Batman and Robin was because of the script. I feel
Yeah,
like the script just made him unlikable, you know?
I get you. Alex Ramirez, have you heard or seen the Spartacus series? I've heard of it. I've wanted
Mhm.
to see it, but I haven't checked it out. What do you think about the remarkable circumstances surrounding the series, particularly how its planned second season was temporarily halted due to the lead actor Andy Whitefield's medical condition? During this pause, what was originally intended as a one-episode backstory was impressively reconfigured into a six-part prequel miniseries, Gods of the Arena, featuring a brief voiceover by Whitfield himself. When it became clear that Whitfield's health would not allow him to return, he graciously gave his blessing for the show and the network to recast the role, which ultimately went to Liam McIntyre. McIntyre took on the role with dedication, honoring Whitfield's legacy and earning praise from the production crew, ensuring the show continued. Given the poignant and selfless nature of Whitfield's decision to allow the show to continue and recast his role, how deeply do you feel his final generous blessing resonated with the fans and the casting after his untimely passing? I'll be frank with you. I never watched the show, but it was something that somebody had put on my radar to certainly go ahead and check out. And while I didn't watch the show, I knew of the situation because I remember going to a convention one year, and some of the cast members from Spartacus was there, and I remember them talking about the passing of Andy, and the idea of them having to recast for this role. So, while I don't necessarily have any deep feelings about his final and generous blessing, I can tell you that the reaction from the fans, and just the cast, especially after his passing and how they felt about him, passing the torch, incredible, incredible. It really did have an impact on people, and having doing selfless acts like that, I think really continue to show you who you were certainly as a person during your life and things like that. And it really resonated with this cast members. They clearly loved Andy. You can see them tearing up when they were certainly talking about him, and the audience was so incredibly grateful. So it definitely resonated with people despite me not having seen it. I was able to see it firsthand at a convention, people talking about him. And it really did. It really was impactful, and a really great decision on his part also, because they were able to create something out of it, due to his blessing. So I think everybody's really pleased with it.
Yeah, no, hearing that story, that's pretty cool, especially like the fact that before he even passed away, they really wanted to give him the time he needed. So they stretched out like one episode into a 6 episode arc to give him all the time. That's really cool. Something that you wouldn't really get from most production companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just shows the impact that he had on his cast and crew for them to even want to do that for him. So I think that speaks volumes.
Mhm.
Um, my friends call me Joseph. Don't you think the contrast between two cinematic versions of the Silver Surfer highlights the freedom of the MCU multiverse? While the 2007 film Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer featured a male Norrin Rad who referenced his lover Shala Bal, Fantastic Four First Steps boldly introduced a multiversal surfer who is Shala Bal, an adaptation where she becomes Galactus Herald to save her child and planet, which many casual fans might miss since both characters are central figures in the comics. This reversal of roles with Shala Bal as a single mother and Norrin unreferenced in the later films offers a fresh, emotional, resonant tragedy by flipping the canon while still honoring the spirit of sacrifice. Um, yeah, I mean, I really appreciated it. I think Shala Bal was a really great choice for First Steps, just based off of the Sue and Franklin and sort of family dynamics of where they were going. Not to say that Norrin Rad couldn't be in that same role in regards to like understanding the weight of losing your planet and things like that. I think just the female connection between Shala and Sue, especially when we get that brief flashback of Shala Ball and realizing that she too like had a kid of her own sort of thing, and what she had to leave behind and sacrifice. And you put that, mirror that up to Sue in the sense of her having a kid, and the people in that society wanting her to kind of give up everything and give up her child in order to save and protect them. um I don't know if you can. I don't know if it. Maybe you could get away with it as with Norn Rad, but I don't know if it would resonate from a story perspective as much as it did when it comes to Shala Ball being in that position. So I'm actually kind of glad in regards to that. And you're right, it does add to sort of the freedom that the MCU has with the multiverse. Sometimes that freedom kicks them in the butt. But I think in this regards, I think they use the multiverse perfectly here.
Yeah. The thing is that there was a story relevant purpose for why they went with this version of the Silver Surfer. You know, it gave someone for Johnny to like connect to, which you know also helped with his whole arc. Not to mention it added that like kind of relatable factor for Sue Storm, as they're both someone. You know, one of them is someone who had to sacrifice herself for everyone, and now Sue Storm is put in an almost opposite position where she's like being, you know, forced to sacrifice her child for the sake of everyone else, something she's like refusing to do. And yeah, I think like, yeah, like the story, it would have been a completely different plot, or it would have had to been a different plot or a different story if they gone with, you know, the traditional male Silver Surfer. So I think that with the plot that they wanted to tell, with the story they wanted to tell, yeah, Shala was the perfect choice for that.
Jessica Friedman, do you think Hocus Pocus 2 would have been a success at the box office if Disney had released it in theaters? And you think long rumored okay, so let's go with this one first. Do you think Hocus Pocus 2 would have been a success at the box office if they released it in theaters?
I find it weird that they didn't. Because that was
Yeah.
like that's like a cult classic. Like I think
Yeah.
yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I think it probably would have been pretty big at the box office. I don't know if it would have done. I think it probably definitely would have at least made its money back for sure. So I'm kind of surprised with that too. Um, long rumored live action Hercules will finally get made. I think you know, that's a good question. I'm trying to remember who was behind that or who they. I think they had a couple people already cast or attached to the project, but I haven't heard anything outside of early development or if ever began any level of production. I'm kind of hoping that it does happen though. Um, maybe after Tangle, but yeah, it just feels like they just kind of let that be. They haven't. They've moved on to other projects, huh?
Yeah, I remember a rumor a while back where the Hercules movie was technically going to be it wasn't going to be an MCU movie, but it was going to be a Marvel Studios production.
What, the Disney one?
Yeah, again, rumor, right?
What? That's
Yeah,
weird.
like it made no sense, but it was like, huh, interesting if that's true.
Yeah, I still think it'll happen, but who knows? I don't know. We'll see. That's a good question, Jessica. What would you like to see in the new animated Aang movie? I think we've answered that before, haven't we?
Oh yeah, I mean, I want to see like, you know, just, you know, all the I basically what I want to see is what I know I'm going to get, which is the characters returning what they've been up to. And you know, I hope we get a compelling villain, you know. That's what
Mm.
because we know that we got Dave Bautista voicing the villain, but we still don't know who this villain is. So I'm just really excited. I hope it's a compelling villain is all, especially because you got like a really talented actor like Dave Bautista voicing him. I'm excited.
Was This is from AJ the Morphin Grid. Was Rocky really demoted and unfairly criticized? Since MMPR, Rocky DeSantos, played by Steve Cardenas, took over as the Red Ranger, but was not the team leader, which was Tommy Oliver. Rocky was even given Austin St. John's former civilian clothes, which Cardina himself acknowledged at fan conventions, led some fans to view him as the Jason copycat, a sentiment reinforced by his non-leadership role, even in the alternate continuity of the 1995 movie. This perception shifted in Power Rangers Zeo when Rocky became the Blue Ranger, which many fans considered as his true Ranger identity, but his feelings of being an understudy was finally acknowledged on screen in the Zeo episode, Mondo's Last Stand, when Jason returned as the Gold Ranger. In the 10th anniversary special Forever Red, Rocky was initially going to appear as Tommy's butler
I heard
dur-
about that.
during the scene at Bulk Skull's new resort. Fortunately, fans were relieved that this idea was scrapped. His Ranger journey was interrupted in Turbo by a back injury, though he later had a heroic return in the 30th anniversary special, Once and Always, where he saved a falling woman and piloted the Tyrannosaurus dinosaur for the first time, despite his character's earlier struggles with demotions and replacements. Given Rocky's eventual heroic and defining moments, was the initial portrayal of his character as less than truly a demotion or a path to a more unique Ranger identity in later returns? No, I think it was a demotion, bro. Um, I think, and then eventually they're like, you know what? This seems kind of effed up. We should probably give him his own Ranger identity. But like
Yeah.
initial portrayal, yeah, it's definitely a demotion, bro. At least I
Yeah.
think so.
Especially because, like, with very few exceptions, it's like most of the time, people see the Red Ranger as, like, the leader of the group. With again, some exceptions. So I think Rocky is unfortunate enough to be like one of those exceptions, where
Yeah.
he was like a Red Ranger, but he wasn't exactly. No one really looked to him as the leader, the same way they did with Jason.
The most talented man in the world says the second season of the CW's Arrow introduced the show's most celebrated antagonist, Slade Wilson, also known as Deathstroke. Slade was initially a close ally to Oliver Queen during his 5 years stranded on Lian Yu, but their bond shattered when Slade witnessed Oliver's theft of the love of his life, Shadow, and the subsequent inadvertent cause of her death. This profound betrayal fueled Slade's intense personal vendetta against Oliver, leading to some of the series' most dramatic moments, including Slade's murder of Oliver's mother, Moira, in the original timeline. The final season saw Slade's legacy continue with his son, Grant Wilson, taking on the Deathstroke mantle, though the later multiversal shift allowing Moira's death to be reversed, letting her survival with her memories intact. Given Slade's popularity, which aspect of his portrayal do fans most credit for making him the best villain of the entire series? How did the introduction of Grant Wilson and the reversal of Moira's death ultimately impact legacy in the final season? Yeah, I don't think it impacted Slade's legacy to me. I was kind of bummed about it personally that they did it, but I don't think it ever hurt Slade. But given Slade's portrayal, what aspects of his portrayal do most fans credit for making him the best villain of the entire series? Um. Oh, you got something, Stu?
I got so many things. I'm just that's why I laughed. I'm like, I can't think of one particular thing he did right. I can think of everything he did right.
um. Well, first off, Manu Bennett's portrayal of Slade was just fucking pitch perfect, dude. I mean, he
Mhm.
just had this personality about him where it's just like he could walk into the room and you just knew he was the toughest son of a bitch in this room. Like you just knew you did not want to mess with this dude. Like the aura that Manu Bennett gave off as this man was just incredible. The accent, the physicality of him. I mean, he was just always just formidable. And he just, the death of Moira was so impactful, and you just knew he just didn't give two shits. Like you just
Mhm.
knew that this man had this hatred for, like, the hatred that just oozed off of this man for Oliver Queen, and the lengths that he was willing to go, like how personal all of his attacks were. Um, I mean, God, like, dude, he made Arrow, and I've said this before to some people, like Arrow season two is like one of the most memorable seasons of television ever for me. Arrow season 2 and Lost season 2 are like my all-time favorite seasons of television. And it's because of Slade Wilson, played by Manu Bennett. I told him that when he came out here to Fan Expo Dallas one year. I had him and uh Stephen Amell sign my season 2 DVD box set case of season 2, because it was just like, dude, this was just impeccable stuff. But yeah, I those are just some of my reasons. I'm sure you probably have a couple yourself, Stuart. But yeah, man, he blew me away, dude.
Yeah, literally everything you said. I'll add on to it the fact that we got to get him. He was introduced as a good guy, as an ally to Oliver. So watching
Yes.
him take the serum and then turn completely batshit and crazy, just ended up being very heartbreaking. And he even gets his redemption arc like kind of later on as we get to season 5, which I really like. I loved his whole story with his family. You know, they in the comic books he is not a good father at all, but here it's like, you know, you can say the same thing, but you can't say that he doesn't love his kids at the very least, that he isn't at least like putting in the effort to trying to, even though he completely screws up, obviously. But there's that whole thing of him trying to make up for it, trying to now be there for you know, Joey and Grant, you know, after being absent for so long. But yeah, his performance is incredible, as you brought up. One of my favorite episodes of season 2 was definitely that like introduction, not introduction, but when he first reintroduces himself to Oliver Queen, you know, in front of Moira in her house. And this is like after Moira and Oliver already have a lot of tension between the two of them, because Oliver just found out that Thea isn't actually his biological sister, or technically she is his half sister. That like like Malcolm Merlin's the father, so you have like that tension already growing between the two of them. But then Slade comes in, and then you have like Oliver trying to figure out how to safely take him out without getting his mother killed, and Slade is just toying with him the entire time. It is such a perfect scene. So yeah, his performance, and then just like the overall intimidating factor that he gives to it, and I think just like, you know, him with the serum on top of that, you know, making a dude who's already dangerous, you know, with a weapon, suddenly, you know, you give him enhanced abilities. Yeah, man. Yeah, he best villain, I think, in Arrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I will come back to Doomsday. Ricky Perez, Toy Story 5 new plot and details revealed. Tim Allen says it's a Jesse story, and he said that there's going to be a lot of Buzz Lightyear stuck in play mode, and new characters Lily Pad and Smarty Pants will introduce in the upcoming film. I'm kind of excited for it. I really am. You know, look, at this point, Buzz and Woody have had a lot of shine. I think Jesse's kind of had a story in Toy Story 2. But I'm okay with I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. I really want to see the technology versus toy storyline the most.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, doesn't didn't they release like the very beginning of it through like animatics, and it starts with like a bunch of Buzz Lightyears like just washed up on a shore in an island, and then them looking at like a tower or something, and then all of them like unanimously going Star Command, and then like marching there together or something like that.
Maybe, I don't know. I missed that. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's hilarious to me.
It was,
Uh,
something like that.
Tony Robinson says if Hasbro gave Percy Jackson creators the green light to adapt any of the trams from the comics, who would you guys want to see? Which trams?
Does he
Uh,
mean teams?
Maybe teams. Maybe teams. It might be teams.
Yeah.
If Hasbro gave Percy Jackson creators the green light to adapt any of the teams from the comics, who would you guys want to see?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with, out of these three, definitely gonna go with the Mega Rangers. Uh, just because, yeah, I did. I always thought like the whole plot line of like writing characters out of the show because they, you know, three high schoolers were just randomly picked to be part of a like international peace conference. You know, that was just so silly. So I like the idea of, oh no, what they were actually doing is fighting villains in space. So I'm gonna go with the Mega Rangers.
Yeah, I probably would go with Omega Rangers also here. I do love I would love to see the Omega Rangers. I'm a big fan of their costume designs too. Yeah, give me Omega Rangers if I had to pick.
Fun
Do you
fact,
guys?
actually, I remember when I first, like, before I joined A Plus Opinions, back when I was like watching your videos as a fan, the first live viewer question I believe I sent was like during Power Ranger. It was when it was announced that Jason was going to be coming back
Coming
for
back?
Power Rangers Beast Morphers, yeah, for Power Rangers Beast Morphers. My question was, hey, if Jason's coming back, do you think we're gonna get to see him in the red Omega Power Ranger outfit?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I wish that would have been a great transition. I don't know why they never went ahead and did that, but yeah, it would have been a great transition.
That would have been
But
so
yeah, I
cool.
guess they don't. Yeah, I guess they just didn't really believe in connecting with Boom Studio Comics. But it would have been dope. It would have been dope.
Hmm.
Do you guys feel that we will get a trailer for Lanterns during the Super Bowl? We should.
Ooh, yes.
We should. If there's any place to reveal it, we should. They didn't do anything for Lanterns at New York Comic Con. The series itself is supposed to be dropping um, early 2025, 2026. So I would assume that's like March, April. So yeah, I do think we should get a trailer for Lanterns at during the Super Bowl, honestly.
Yeah. I hope so. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. That is gonna happen. That's
What
my
do you
prediction.
want? What do you want to see the Duffer Brothers do next? At this point, I really just want to see them do movies.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem if they want to be like if they have like another fresh idea for a television series. Um, but I really want to see what they can do on the big screen. You know, I mentioned this before that they do have that Spielberg-esque type of vibe about them, and I think they could probably have like one or two really great movies on the big screen. So that's really what I want them to do. As far as like what the themes and stuff are going to be, I say stay in your wheelhouse of what really has really worked for you, but just on a bigger scale. So yeah, give me a movie at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with like specifically. I want to see them do like a horror movie as like kind of their first movie project.
Nice. I kind of dig that. What do you guys think the Percy Jackson creators have to do to show a wider audience that you don't have to do MMPR to make Power Rangers successful and relevant?
Ooh. Um, I would say because I'm assuming this if we're not doing MMPR that it's going to be a completely original team not based on any adaptation we've gotten in the past. So god, this is going to be such a lame answer and I apologize. Honestly, just give us a trailer that shows us our new team, doesn't really give us too many, like maybe give us some Easter egg, but doesn't give us too much to imply that there's a lot of Power Ranger history. Just that way people can like look at the trailer and go, you don't know have to know anything about Power Rangers to get into this series. I don't know what the continuity is going to be with the show, if it's like existing in a universe that's had Power Rangers in the past, or if it's like in the main Power Rangers universe. But I would personally just play the trailer as if this is the first time audiences in general are being introduced to Power Rangers.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I do think there's going to be an MMPR influence into this in some way, shape, or form. Um, so I do think they they will rely on MMPR to a certain degree to be successful and relevant, just because I mean that's what has kept Power Rangers successful and relevant over the years is their MMPR stuff, unfortunately. Um, but I think maybe the color schemes, maybe the dinosaur. I mean, I really have no idea what the hell they're doing with the show, to be honest with you. I mean, production's supposed to start in January of this year, and they haven't given us any information. Has casting even begun? I have not heard a single thing in this regards, but I would agree with you. That first trailer's got to show, um, act like this is the first time the world's being introduced to them. Just give us brand new characters and just brand new characters and focus on storyline and character growth, and I think some great martial arts, and I think people will will be drawn to it. But we'll see. And then last but not least, I know you had one other question, Tony, but I do want to keep it down to three questions at a minimum. So we did go through four. So if you want to answer that question, just submit it again next week. But last couple questions here from Doomsday. Whenever you're watching a TV show, do you prefer an actual theme song with lyrics and credits throughout, or just straight to a quick title card? I guess for me, it really depends on. To me, it really just depends on what the show is that you're going for, right? Like Peacemaker. Damn, a song with lyrics and credits, and like I love the Peacemaker entrance. I literally could watch the Peacemaker entrance all the time. My girlfriend prefers to skip the intro, so she's probably look. Let's just get straight to the title card. But I know some things that are just title cards. Like Lost was impactful too. with just the title card coming straight at you with this eerie music, and then boom, straight into the show itself. So I don't know if it's a catchy theme song, give me the theme song and credits every time. I think I'll go that route. If it's a catchy theme song, give me the credits and lyrics all the time.
Mm-hmm. I think it mostly depends on the show itself and whether or not a theme song vibes with it. I think that, for example, like if you're doing a horror show, I don't know. I don't think I think that like Stranger Things, for example, actually is like perfect because it's like, yeah, it's just the title sequence with the creepy music. That's exactly what you need. If you try to do a Peacemaker type intro for Stranger Things, it wouldn't work, you know? So yeah, I think that it often it depends on the show and what vibes with it. I know that's a very generic not answer, but yeah.
No, but I think it's true because I think of like Alien Earth. I can't imagine that show having lyrics and like opening credits and the whole theme ahead of it. But so I guess it really just depends on like maybe the genre that you're in. Like sitcoms and things like that probably can work, but I mean, like, yeah, Peacemaker too, I guess, because there's like a comedy factor, maybe you can kind of get away with it and stuff, despite of the drama that takes place in Peacemaker. So yeah, it's just pick or choose. If I had a preference, it would be an actual theme song, but I'm not gonna ask that for all my shows if it doesn't fit.
Yeah. Whereas a show with Power Rangers, I couldn't see that show working without a theme song, you
A
know?
theme song, yeah, absolutely. Did you hear about the new Ninja Kids Power Rangers web series apparently using AI in its trailer? They released it, but then took it down due to the backlash they received from people accusing them of using AI. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, Power Ranger fans are the most like against the AI you will ever see, dude. Like I had a debate with somebody like a year ago or so about something. I can't remember what it was, but I was trying to prove it was the idea of like Power Rangers being too reliant on Super Sentai series or something like that. And people were like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And I'm like, yeah, like it is. Like it like the idea of it hindering storytelling and creativity. They're like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So I tried to do like a Google search to come up like, have actual actors, have actual creators of Power Rangers talked about the idea of um how Super Sentai footage has hindered their creativity, right? So I Googled it, and Google will give you the first immediate like AI overview, right? And it'll give you the answer that you want based off of what the AI is able to find amongst the internet. And then it'll give you like a breakdown of the points and attach links to them. So you can actually click on the link that takes you to the source and you can read it sort of for yourself, right? So I got all the information that I wanted. And so I took a screenshot of the AI overview and I use that as like my proof in regards to like the point that I was trying to make. And I shit you not, bro. Like just using AI to come up with facts. People are like, oh, this disqualifies you immediately. You use AI. And I'm like, dude, do you not realize how the internet works? I'm like, I can give you the same information. That would it matter to you if I literally sent you the link that the AI provides for me? This will make you feel better. So I clicked the link and I sent them the link. I was like, this is what the AI says. This is the website with the source material. Like, what more do you like? You'll accept this, but you won't accept just what the AI overview. Like, it's the same information. So it is. I say that because the pushback that Ninja Kids Power Rangers web series has gotten for the use of AI, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be mad and upset about it. I'm not saying that. The question that I would just simply ask is, when is AI acceptable for some people, and when is it not? And it seems like, and there's a part of me that wants to say AI is not acceptable if it in turn removes jobs, paying jobs from people that can do that same exact work, and using AI to completely cut out the creative essence of human artistic work. If what you're using AI for is already a job that humans can do, then I can understand the backlash of you want humans with the creative experience and the emotional attachment to bring those things to life. I can understand the argument, but I have also seen these same people upset about the idea of using AI to find knowledge and information that literally just provides links to where you can find the information. They say almost like they want no use of AI. And I just don't think that we live in that world anymore, unfortunately. There are some aspects of AI we have to get used to, but I understand the backlash if it's an idea of using AI to completely remove humans from being able to do the artistic work that we enjoy because of the human connection that it provides for us and the fact that people are still working and we're using those jobs. So I understand that backlash in regards to it. Um, and I think the bigger backlash also comes from the fact that it is a collaboration with Hasbro. So Hasbro should have the money to pay people to do
Mhm.
this. That this isn't just some fan made Power Ranger film where somebody at home is trying to do something cool and creative and wants to use AI. Compared to the bigger platform that Ninja Kids Power Rangers is currently in right now. But the backlash is severe and it's real, Stuart.
Here's the thing. The part that, yeah, like I am, for me, I think that, when it comes to using AI, if you're a big production, which, and by big production, I mean anything more than $200, which this definitely is more than $200. I think there's two acceptive ways to use AI. One, I think it's totally fine to use it when you're trying to organize your notes, when you're trying to organize, or, if you're using it as a tool for VFX, but not using it as the VFX, but you're using it kind of as a tool for the VFX, but you're still hiring a VFX artist to use that tool. So you yourself
Mhm.
are not doing it, right?
Gotcha.
The other one is I kind of like the way they use it in South Park, where they have the characters talking to a Chat GPT, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they actually use Chat GPT to respond. So I think that's just hilarious, and so I'm okay with that. But when it comes to smaller creators, I tend to be a lot more lenient if they decide to use like AI for their projects, depending on how they're utilizing it. As long as they're still like kind of that creative, like as long as it still comes from a creative place. Like for example, one of my favorite web series, like web shows, it's called Celebrity Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's one of the funniest freaking things I've seen, because it's just basically real celebrities, politicians, and fictional characters competing in a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, but they use like AI voices for them. But the script is definitely not AI. Like the banter that they have is way too creative for this to have been an AI thing, and it's all done with the in-game engine of Master Duel. So basically you're coming up with these really clever scripted duels with the very limited, because there's no way to play a game of Master Duel and have the hand be exactly what you want it to be. So, which means that you have to go with what you're given and figure out, okay, these are the cards we have in both players' hands. How do we make an entertaining duel out of this? So they're scripting out these really clever duels, having this incredibly clever banter. But the only thing is, yes, they are definitely using AI voices for the characters. I'm okay
Mm,
with it, because at the end of the day, they're not monetizing it. They're just doing it for fun. That's when I think like AI is totally acceptable in my books. But if you're a project like this, which is very much like, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say it's a project that's not nonprofit. I'm sure that they are actually planning to make money from releasing this series onto YouTube. And you
right.
got that Hasbro money. I mean, like, look at those suits. Those suits are not like, something you can just pick up at Party City. You know, those are actually suits that you've clearly spent a lot of money on. Yeah, I think it's just really ridiculous that you can't just hire an actual VFX artist to go in to make the mouth move. You know, I'm definitely not as angry, I think, as other people were, mostly because I myself didn't notice it until I started looking at the backlash other people have been pointing out about it. But yeah, I do definitely get the backlash in this particular case. Yeah, I think that, yeah, again, if you got more than obviously 200 is more of a joke, but you know what I mean. If you're a
Yeah.
big production, you
Because some
know,
people just can't afford it. I mean, if you're a fan
yeah,
made stuff, you just can't afford to hire somebody to do that type of special effects. So I get the idea. But you're right. When you are on a bigger platform and you know it's going to be monetized and you're going to be making money from it, sort of thing too, right? And you do have
yeah.
the backing of Hasbro, it does feel a little shortcutish for sure. And it's becoming a slippery slope, I think. And the idea of how Hollywood is going to be using AI kind of in the future too. Um, so yeah, I mean, look, the idea is AI is out of the box. It's here. It's
Mhm.
just a matter of how it's going to be utilized. And like you said, is it more of is it going to be utilized as a tool to help people that do these effects and things like that to maybe help things look a little bit smoother in their work, sort of thing? Are they using it as a tool, or is it in terms to completely erase people from these positions and not utilize humans in that regards anymore? So we'll see. But yeah, it's definitely had its backlash. And then lastly, I know you may not have been watching Go's User as of now, but I wanted to ask for your thoughts about this. There's a nasty rumor going around about how Maya Amamori, who plays the Unicorn, the Black Ranger, and Asahi, the original suit actor for Red Ranger, before getting replaced, are involved with an affair with each other. And Maya has been the target of this hurtful rumor. Nothing has been confirmed as of now, but it's really sad how people believe anything they see nowadays. This rumor is really bad, and it sucks how it's happening before the 50th anniversary of Super Sentai. So yeah, just wanted to ask for your thoughts about it and spread the word because it needs to be brought to an end. I haven't heard the rumor. I don't know the factualities behind it. Um, if the if somebody's significant other has come out and spoke about it, so I can't really speculate on it. Honestly, I think it'd be unfair for me to speculate on something I really have no idea about. But it's definitely a bummer. At least they weren't caught at a Coldplay concert.
Yeah, I think that like yeah, if people are like spreading this rumor just for fun, like that's not okay because you can actually like screw up people's lives from doing so. So yeah,
Yeah, you
no,
really can.
like I yeah, I wish
People
if there
getting
was a yeah,
canceled for no reasons and shit, for something that they
exactly.
didn't do if it's not true. But we're a very reactionary society. I mean, we hear things and we run with it, even if it's not true.
Like, oh
Um,
my god, do you remember when the fucking dude from the Try Guys got into an affair? I swear to God, like this was probably the most blown up affair like that the internet has ever like because like this whole thing is when he was on the Try Guys, his whole personality was I love my wife so very much. So you know when he was caught cheating on her with one of his like interns or something like that, man, the internet fucking blew up at him and like yeah this
that's
guy
pretty
got
crazy.
so much hate. It was kind of hilarious.
That's pretty crazy.
Like don't get me wrong, I feel really bad for his wife and child. Like that sucks so much for them, but just like for like him though in particular, I just can't help but laugh because it's like damn, you have like the most publicized almost now. I think that new CEO from that Coldplay concert now has beaten it as number one, but before that had to be the number one most like known about affair on the internet.
So he says before getting replaced. So have they already been replaced? And have they been
Oh.
replaced because of this rumor of an affair with each other? Like, is that why they were replaced?
Oh
That's
god,
interesting.
that's
So,
even
like,
worse if it was a
yeah, if they,
rumor.
well, I mean, my thing is maybe they got replaced, and then people assumed that maybe that was the reasoning, and
Yeah.
so maybe that's not the reason they got replaced, but Who knows? I mean, maybe they did have an affair and they got replaced. And so I don't know. I really have no idea. But look, unless we hear something definitive, we shouldn't spread rumors that aren't factual until we get more information. So yeah.
Exactly.
But all right, guys, that will do it for our live viewer question portion of the show. You can go ahead and take that off the screen. But thank you guys so much for everybody's participation, and always have been fantastic questions each and every week. We certainly will be back here later on this week for you guys as well. We got a couple things to look forward to. We got that television series. We got a couple great movies that are going to be dropping here this month for you guys, so certainly stay tuned. Always trying to find I have been procrastinating on getting this damn laptop to find fixed. I really need to, though, in order to just get us back on a regular basis schedule here, so I can dish out more content for you guys. But I'll definitely try and work on that, especially before my son's birthday, because I know the holidays are about to get effing crazy around these parts here in just a little bit. But Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Letterboxd and Instagram and TikTok.
And follow us over on TikTok as well at Hero Report. We're very active over there as well. I do new comic book day every Wednesday or Thursday. I'll drop something over there for you guys. We post movie trailers, behind the scenes featurettes over there for you guys also. If anything, if you want to follow us also on social media, right here at A Plus Opinions everywhere on Facebook. We keep our Facebook page up to date on a daily basis for you guys with brand new news and information that drops throughout the day. And then we take 6 topics from our Facebook page and we talk about them here at the end of the week. This is our main page here on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and click that bell notification so that when we do drop brand new videos, you guys will certainly be notified. But other than that, that will certainly do it for us here today. We'll certainly see you guys next Saturday and then some other videos throughout the week. But until then, do us a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.